Chapter 71. Long Rue tilted his head and looked at the woman leaning against the car window. The gentleness in his eyes could not be concealed. Even though she was tainted with an aura that he hated, it was undeniable that she had gradually taken over his heart. Even if he could not touch her for the rest of his life, he would keep her by his side for the rest of his life. Even if he died, she could only be by his side. If she resisted in the future, he would still use a way to keep her by his side. He had already thought of the most romantic thing, which was to hold her and watch her die in his arms. At the Civil Affairs Bureau, Tanghua was a little surprised that Long Rue had brought her to this place. "Host, you should believe it now, right? Long Rue really cares about you. He brought you here directly to get your marriage certificate." Long Rue did not ask for Tanghua's opinion. He directly got someone to do this. Tanghua did not resist and was very cooperative. While taking the photo, she tilted her head and looked at Long Rue. "Long Rue, this should be the closest we have been in years, right?" Long Rue's heart clenched. He did not know why, but he felt that this woman was actually very far away from him, even though she was clearly right in front of him. Her eyes were clearly filled with him, and he felt very panicked. Bringing Tanghua to get their marriage certificate was not a spur-of-the-moment thing. Since he wanted to keep her by his side, he had to have a legitimate reason to keep her by his side. There was Chen Yuexing and Leng Ziyue, who were both coveting this woman by his side. Now that she had been marked by him, he had to feel more at ease. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to control his urge to destroy her with his own hands. He had always been like this. If his own things were about to be taken away by others, he would do everything he could to destroy them, then sew them up and finally keep them by his side. Just like his parents. Long Rue put away the marriage certificate and called Leng Ziyue. The first thing he said was, "Your mother is back. Come over for dinner tonight." While Leng Ziyue was still in a daze, he added, "Bring your woman. You haven't served your mother tea yet." Leng Rue had always remembered Tanghua's words that she wanted to drink her wife's tea. Therefore, while Leng Ziyue was in a daze, he told him the reason why he wanted them to come back. Before Leng Ziyue could react, Long Rue hung up the phone impatiently. Tanghua giggled. "Long Rue, you still remember this?" "Of course." Long Rue looked at the woman in the car opposite him. He really wanted to reach out and pat her head. "I've already sent your book to the publisher. It will be on the market by next month at the latest." "So fast?" The woman smiled with curved eyebrows, and Long Rue was instantly healed by this smile. It seemed that ever since he met her, he had only ever seen a smile on her face. She didn't seem to be angry. No, when she was angry, she always smiled. It was impossible to tell whether she was happy or angry. "Ziyu, what's wrong with you? Who's calling?" After hanging up the phone, Leng Ziyue stood there in a daze for a long time. Lu Qi happened to see Leng Ziyue in a daze, so she could not help but ask. Leng Ziyue looked up blankly and said, "Dad asked us to go home for dinner today." "Oh, that's it." Lu Qi smiled. "Then let's get ready quickly. Don't let Dad wait for too long." Chapter 72. Chi-Chi, don't be so anxious. Leng Ziyue really didn't understand why Lu Qi was so excited when Long Rue asked them to go back for dinner. It was as if she was more excited than when they got married. Lu Qi's behavior made him a little dissatisfied. Almost subconsciously, he remembered that Tanghua used to be his girlfriend, but then she turned around and became Long Rue's woman. "Chi-Chi, aren't you going to have a concert? Aren't you busy recently? If you are, I can go back alone." "Dad said that we should go back together. What if you go back alone and make him unhappy and mad at you? There's still a long time before the concert. If someone helps to prepare, I can squeeze out a day and a half." Lu Qi looked at Leng Ziyue strangely and stopped smiling. "Ziyue, you don't seem to want to go back. Or you don't want to take me back." Leng Ziyue quickly shook his head. No, I'm afraid that you'll be busy and waste your time." "Then Chi-Chi, my dad's girlfriend is back. When you see her later, remember not to be too excited no matter what happens." Leng Ziyue had a bad feeling, especially when Long Rue asked him and Lu Qi to serve tea to his mother on the phone. Leng Ziyue took Lu Qi back to the villa nervously. Pushing the door open, he held Lu Qi's hand and went in. His hands and feet were trembling a little. At the same time, he was a little nervous. They hadn't seen each other for a few years, right? That woman never liked to be on the news. It was hard to find her in the entertainment news. If it wasn't for her actions abroad that made the whole world know her name, he might have thought that she was kept by his dad. In the living room, there was only Long Rue and no Tangua. This made the nervous Long Ziyue breathe a sigh of relief. Long Ziyue and Lu Qi politely greeted each other. Long Rue raised his head. Have a seat. Lu Qi was also very nervous. The person in front of her was the head of the Long family. The whole Long family was in his hands. Nebula Music and Nebula Movies and Television were just small branches under his control. Lu Qi thought that as long as Long Rue was satisfied, she would be able to get whatever she wanted in the future, not only in the music industry, but also in the film and television industry. If she had known that Long Ziyue was this person's adopted son, she wouldn't have argued with Long Ziyue back then and let Tangua have the opportunity to take advantage of Long Ziyue for a period of time. Of course, it wasn't too late. She was already married to Long Ziyue. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Lu Qi's face. Even though Tangua was so popular, wasn't she going to retire from the music industry soon? After Tangua left, wouldn't it be Lu Qi's world? Lu Qi subconsciously ignored Tangua's excellence and the fact that she would only have a chance to show her skills after Tangua left. Suddenly, Lu Qi felt a cold gaze. She subconsciously looked up and found that the gaze was directed at Long Rue. However, when she looked over, Long Rue had already lowered his head. Lu Qi suddenly became nervous. Was it because she rarely came back after getting married to Long Ziyue? So Long Rue was not satisfied with her? Dad, Lu Qi tried to call. I was too busy with work before, so I rarely came to see you. After I'm done with work, if you don't mind, I'll come to see you every day. Chapter 73. No need, Long Rue said faintly. This made Lu Qi a little embarrassed. It seemed that her young father-in-law was really angry. She stole a few glances at Long Rue and found that he was really young. He was less than 40 years old and had taken good care of himself. He was definitely a Prince Charming. If those women outside knew about Long Rue's face, they would be fascinated. She even thought that with Long Rue's status and appearance, if she had known him directly, Lu Qi quickly came back to her senses and did not dare to think about it anymore. Unexpectedly, Long Ziyue noticed the infatuation in Lu Qi's eyes. Although it was only for a moment, he saw it. Long Ziyue was furious. These women, all of them thought that Long Rue was better than him? Lu Qi was so focused on pleasing Long Rue that she did not notice Long Ziyue's expression. Long Rue noticed it, but he did not remind her. Until a voice came from upstairs. Long Rue, are my son and daughter-in-law back? A woman's soft and gentle voice sounded. Accompanied by the sound of footsteps, a woman appeared on the stairs. The three people present were very familiar with this voice. Lu Qi looked up subconsciously. When she saw Tangua, she stood up suddenly. Why are you here? Could it be that Tangua was Long Rue's lover? Didn't Ziyue say that Long Rue's girlfriend was back today? Why did he let his lover be here? Lu Qi did not want to believe that Tangua could be Long Rue's girlfriend. Tangua tilted her head and smiled. Are you asking me? A few years had passed. Although Tangua had lost a lot of weight, her face was still innocent and clean, just like before. But Lu Qi was different. Her makeup was thicker than before. Because she was too busy recording various programs, the dark circles under her eyes needed to be covered with thick foundation. Looking at the natural and unadorned face in front of her, she was furious. Lu Qi pursed her lips and stared at Tangua. Although she did not say anything, she was trying to tell her why she was here. I've been living here all along. Tangua walked down and naturally sat at the seat closest to Long Rue, but there was still a certain distance between them. Long Ziyue felt the sharp eyes on him, so he quickly withdrew his gaze and pulled Lu Qi to the seat. Lu Qi wanted to ask why Long Rue's lover was here. During this time, she thought about a lot of things. No wonder Tangua became popular so quickly. It turned out that she had Long Rue behind her back. She was already the daughter-in-law of the Long family, but Long Rue had never intended to help her. Long Rue said, "From now on, she will be your mother. I'm already married to her." These two sentences were like deep water bombs, making Long Ziyue and Lu Qi dizzy. Long Ziyue had expected this, but Lu Qi didn't know anything about it before. when she suddenly heard that the competitor she hated, her love rival, was actually her mother. Especially when the other party was a few years younger than her, she felt unwell all over. Lu Qi's widened eyes were extremely ugly. Lung Rui saw the expression in Lu Qi's eyes. He glanced at Lu Qi and said, "You seem to have a problem with it?" "She's indeed the woman you like," he said to Lung Ziyue in the end. Lung Ziyue pursed his lips. When Tang Hua left the country that year, he actually felt a little relieved. If Lung Rui was unwilling to let go of someone, how could he snatch her away? Therefore, he already knew that the two of them would be together. He had already planned to find a chance to clarify what he said back then. Chapter 74. Lung Ziyue really couldn't call Tang Hua mom. He was selfish. He didn't want to see the two people in front of him get together like ordinary people. He was also in pain. He still had Tang Hua in his heart, but he married Lu Qi. Tang Hua became his father's woman. He was the one who gave up this woman. He really didn't know who to blame. "Dad, you're not joking, right?" After a long time, Lung Ziyue said, "When did you get married?" Lung Rui raised his eyebrows and took out the two marriage certificates. Seeing this, Lung Ziyue and Lu Qi's faces turned pale. "The wedding will be held in October." Lung Rui looked at Tang Hua as he said this. Seeing that Tang Hua was still smiling and didn't feel disgusted, his mood improved a lot. "Bring the tea." Lung Rui always remembered that Tang Hua wanted to drink his son and daughter-in-law's tea. The servant brought 2 cups of tea and placed them in front of Lung Ziyue and Lu Qi. "Serve tea to your mom." Lu Qi bit her lip and glanced at Lung Ziyue. Lung Ziyue also clenched his fists tightly. He even had a marriage certificate. Lung Rui was indeed worthy of his name. He was so fast. Tang Hua supported her chin with a smile on her face, as if she was waiting for the two to serve tea. Lung Ziyue struggled for a long time in his heart, but in the end, he still picked up the teacup. If he didn't serve tea and call her mom today, Lung Rui would definitely make him pay a heavy price. Lu Qi was still thinking that Lung Ziyue must have a way, but when she saw him pick up the teacup, she felt bad. Calling Tang Hua mom, she was simply humiliating her. "Chi-chi, give." Lung Ziyue opened his mouth but couldn't say it. In the end, he gritted his teeth and closed his eyes. "Serve tea to our mom." Lu Qi could only pick up the tea reluctantly. The two bowed to Tang Hua. They didn't know how much preparation they had in their hearts, but at the same time, they said, "Mom, please drink tea." Tang Hua leisurely looked at the two people whose faces were flushed red from holding back. The corners of her mouth curled up more and more. Her red lips parted slightly as she spat out 2 words, so obedient. Lu Qi almost vomited blood. She should have listened to Lung Ziyue and not come back today. "System, I really can't understand the host's bad taste. Come, I'll give you all a red packet." Tang Hua took the tea and drank it. Then, she took out 2 red envelopes and handed them to Lu Qi and Lung Ziyue. The two stiffened and took the red envelopes. If not for the fact that he was trying his best to control himself, he would have gone mad by now. Tang Hua narrowed her eyes and said, "Son, daughter-in-law, you two must grow old together. Lung Rui, you have to keep an eye on them from now on. Don't let them have any conflicts, lest they get impulsive and get divorced." "That's not good." A smile appeared on Lung Rui's face. The woman seemed to be very happy. He naturally felt very happy. Other than not being able to touch her, he would remember everything she said and would never forget it. "Okay, I'll keep an eye on them. I won't let them break up." Lu Qi felt terrible as if she had eaten shit. She really didn't know what Tang Hua's purpose was. Would she make trouble for her in the future? She sat on the side with a deep frown. She thought she was about to get rid of Tang Hua, but now she felt that she was really naive. Lung Ziyue and Lu Qi didn't feel good about the meal. After eating, they didn't want to stay any longer and quickly left. Tang Hua leaned on the railing and looked at the two people who left in a hurry. She chuckled. "Are you very happy?" Chapter 75. Ziyue, why would Tang Hua do this? Lu Qi didn't dare to say anything before, but after leaving the villa, she had to question Lung Ziyue. Wasn't Tang Hua her rival in love? How did she become her mother-in-law? Lung Ziyue frowned. "After Tang Hua broke up with me, she got together with my dad." I thought my dad was just fooling around. I didn't expect him to be serious. Lu Qi was furious. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Lung Ziyue felt a little uncomfortable when he heard Lu Qi's question. He suddenly remembered the way Lu Qi looked at Long Rui and felt even more upset. It seemed that he shouldn't go back to the villa in the future. However, at this time, Lung Ziyue's phone rang. Dad? Come back for dinner every night from now on? Lung Rui's faint voice was heard. Your mom is very happy to see you. She ate a lot more today. When Lung Ziyue wanted to find an excuse, the phone was hung up. What's wrong? Lu Qi asked in confusion. Lung Ziyue put down the phone stiffly. Dad wants us to go back for dinner every night. Why? Lu Qi's eyebrows were almost raised. She was so angry that she vomited blood when she came back. Every day when she went back and saw that woman, she had to call her mom. She felt how terrible it was to live in this world. Ziyue, I don't want to go back. Chi-Chi, I don't want to go back either. Lung Ziyue was helpless. But we have to go back. Why? Lu Qi didn't understand at all. She used to be the eldest daughter of the Lu family. Although her family wasn't the best, it wasn't comparable to anyone. In the end, Tangwa just had to come out of nowhere and beat her in everything. She thought that after she became the daughter-in-law of the Lung family, she didn't have to live under the halo of Tangwa anymore. Just when she was feeling complacent, she suddenly found that the person she hated the most was her mother-in-law. It was really terrible. Tangwa was like a ghost haunting her. Whether it was work or life, she was always entangled with her. If we don't go back, we will have nothing tomorrow. Lu Qi bit her lip and didn't speak. What's this? Tangwa looked at the booklet Long Rui handed to her and asked curiously, choose the style of the wedding dress. Do you like it? Tangwa opened the booklet. Sure enough, there were all kinds of wedding dress styles inside. Each one was very beautiful. After looking for a while, she closed the booklet and asked, Are you really going to have a wedding? Of course. Tangwa rested her chin on her hand and smiled. Lung Rui, holding a wedding means that you have to hug me, hold me, and kiss me on that day. Can you do it? These words caused Lung Rui's body to stiffen. He was a little hesitant. Perhaps he should postpone it a little. But the thick smell of smoke made Tangwa cough fiercely a few times. She quickly took out a tissue and covered her mouth, choking on her tears. Seeing this, Long Rui put out the cigarette with trembling hands. Let's go out and get some fresh air. Seeing the woman choking and crying, he regretted that he couldn't help smoking when he was annoyed. Then, he asked the servants to get rid of the smell of smoke in the room. Chapter 76. Ever since that day, Tangwa had not seen Long Rui smoke again. She wondered if he had quit smoking, or if he would not smoke in front of her again. Actually, Lung Rui is not a bad man. The system's faint voice sounded. Host, he cares a lot about you. The corners of Tangwa's mouth curved slightly. In every world, there will be many people who care about me. Okay, host, we can actually talk about other things. Needless to say, the host's next words would be, the more they care about me, the more ruthless they will abandon me in the future. The system did not try to persuade Tangwa to let go of the butcher's knife. After all, there was not much time left. Apart from meeting Lu Qi and Lung Ziyue every day and making them feel depressed, the host did not seem to have done anything special. 1 month later, Tangwa's book went on the market. Because Tangwa's fame was too big, her fan group was also very large. So, the 50,000 copies of the book were sold out in one day. In an instant, Tangwa's fans were proud to own if this was another ending. 2 days ago, there was not much reaction. A few days later, the people who bought the book had almost finished reading it. Tangwa's fans started to discuss the content of the book. When I first started reading, I thought it was a drama. When I got to the middle, I thought it was an inspirational book. When I read the ending, I realized it was a tragic novel. Guagua, you were so cruel. The female lead actually used her own name and wrote her own ending in such a tragic way. Yeah, when the female lead first appeared, I felt like I was looking at myself who had just graduated from university. That kind of pure and innocent look, I really miss it. A pure and innocent person, a person who believed in love, But because of a scumbag who found a substitute, her life was ruined. Just looking at it makes me sad. It can be said that the female lead was destined to turn bad. Her tragedy was also destined. No, from your comments, you can see that you did not really understand the book. A fan expressed her opinion. Although the female lead was not willing to be a substitute, she did not want to hurt anyone at first. If it wasn't for the fact that the scumbag's girlfriend made him think that the female lead was doing something bad every time they met, she would not have ended up like this. In the end, she decided to hurt someone because the scumbag was too heartless and never wanted to believe her. She had done so many things that had backfired on her. Every time, she would end up in a miserable state. Everyone scolded her for ruining other people's relationships, but who knew the reason behind it? She just accepted the scumbag's feelings, which led to all this. If she knew she was a substitute, do you think she would accept it? Actually, she had a chance to escape from the sea of bitterness. She had a difficult time in the middle, and it just so happened that a big shot liked to listen to her songs and became her financial backer. During those 3 months, there's a description of her psychological state. I suggest you take a look. This fan's words made the others immediately flip through the psychological description. The passage went like this. I lived a quiet life for the past few months. Almost no one disturbed me. All I needed to do every day was sing a few songs for him. He was a very quiet person. He would only listen to me sing quietly. I seem to have found my most loyal fan. Chapter 77. When I get out of here, I will go to a place where no one knows me and spend the rest of my life in peace. I will never chase after an illusory love again. Seeing this, the fans were a little stunned. They did not expect to miss such a plot. Did you see that? Haha, look at the scene of her leaving the villa. The moment she was chased out of the villa, the female lead's thoughts were, so, I am not redeemed. The only person who appreciates me doesn't believe in me. He is not a quiet person, but a cold and ruthless person. And I am still just a tool. A substitute, a tool. How ridiculous. The fans were in a heated discussion. So much so that several people could not help but open the book to read. Lung Rue opened it immediately. After reading it, he found the woman curled up on the sofa watching TV. He sat on the side indifferently, his eyes fixed on Tang Guo. What's wrong? Lung Rue pointed at the book and asked, that mysterious sugar daddy is me? Am I right? Yes. The woman admitted it calmly. Lung Rue frowned. Why did you write such a tragic book? He was also written in such a hateful way. The female lead's life, from the beginning, was like a tragedy. In the end, she was humiliated and photographed. Finally, she could not take it anymore and committed suicide on her birthday. That year, she was only 26 years old and her birthday was September 9th. This year, Tang Guo was 26 years old and her birthday was September 9th. You shouldn't have used your name and your birthday. Lung Rue did not understand why he was so nervous. This ending is not good. It was frustrating. If he had known it was the content, he would have asked the publisher to change it. You took it seriously? Tang Guo smiled sweetly. It's just another ending. It's not real. You took it seriously. Lung Rue did not speak, but it was obvious that he was very unhappy. Because in the book, Tang Guo's tragedy was caused by the sugar daddy who was based on him. If this sugar daddy had not destroyed her last hope, she would not have committed suicide. Anyway, this ending is not good. Lung Rue was still frowning. The publisher said that they want to print more. I don't think it's necessary. Then I won't print it. Lung Rue's expression softened a little. He wanted to throw the book away, but in the end, he gently put it aside. Chen Yuesheng also read the book and successfully found a character based on himself. After reading it, he called Tang Guo. Guo, have I offended you? Did I do something to make you unhappy? If you have offended me in any way, Guo, you must tell me. Don't hold a grudge. Tang Guo was a little confused. What's wrong? What's wrong? Why did you make me sound so detestable? Chen Yuesheng was angry. Guo, although I'm jealous of Lung Rue for having you, I will never harm you, let alone fall in love with someone else. When he read the book, he was so angry that his eyebrows were about to burn off. He had set up the plot of an old man for Tang Guo. Lung Ziyue also couldn't wait to read it. After reading it, he fiercely rubbed his hair. Sure enough, that woman really hated him. But why did he and Lu Qi have the best ending in the book? Could this be the so-called special way of revenge? Chapter 78. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was September 9th. Tangua's concert was also her birthday. In order to prepare for this concert, Long Rui had spent a lot of money to build a venue for 100,000 people for Tangua. Since she wanted to retire, he wanted her to retire in a grand manner. It was also a special birthday present for her. The fans were also unprecedentedly enthusiastic. From the beginning, they had been looking at the woman on the stage with tears in their eyes. Unknowingly, they had liked her for 7 years. They had always thought that she would be with them forever. They had not expected that she would only be on the stage for 7 years, just 7 short years. The entire concert was very quiet. Other than Tang was singing, no one spoke. Their eyes were also very focused because this was the last concert. In the future, there would not be another person whose singing could touch their heartstrings like this. There would also not be another person whom they liked and hated at the same time. Why did Guo retire from the music industry? Lung Rui looked away and said, I don't know. You don't know either? Chun Yuesheng was surprised. I thought she quit because of you. Now that he knew that was not the case, he felt a little better. Chen Yuesheng noticed that Long Rui's whole body was tense. He seemed to be clenching his fists tightly. Long Rui? What's wrong with you? Long Rui unclenched his fists. His eyes still did not leave the woman on the stage. I plan to propose to her. Although they had already registered their marriage, they had not held a wedding ceremony yet. He still wanted to formally propose to her once and make her agree willingly. However, he did not dare to take this step, because if they held a wedding, it was inevitable that they would have physical contact. So he was hesitating. If he pushed her away in front of everyone at the wedding, he would inadvertently become a laughing stock. Perhaps he could wait a little longer. Chun Yuesheng did not say anything. He did not want to ask Long Rui if he was ready, nor did he want to encourage Long Rui to go. He also had his own selfish motives. He really couldn't help his rival in love. At this moment, no one noticed that the woman on the stage had cold sweat on her forehead. They all thought that it was because she was sweating from the heat. Under the makeup, the woman's face was already very pale. Even her hand, which was holding the microphone, began to tremble. The taste of blood in her throat made her almost vomit. However, this was the last song. Tangua gritted her teeth and used the last of her strength to sing the last song perfectly. Finally, she squatted on the ground as if she had unloaded all her burdens and quietly squatted on the stage. When the music stopped, the fans waited for Tangua to stand up and talk to them. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes passed. They had less than 3 minutes left. Everyone realized that something was wrong. Before the workers could react, Long Rui jumped onto the stage. Before he even got close to the woman, he finally welcomed her voice. Sorry, I'm a little tired. The fans heaved a sigh of relief, and so did Long Rui. He continued to walk toward the woman. The fans recognized Long Rui, and the mood at the scene rose again. Long Rui took the microphone and said without looking at the people below, I'm too tired. I'll take her to rest first. The fans didn't blame her at all. Instead, they cheered. The scene in front of them was too sweet. This man was really the Prince Charming in every woman's heart. Chapter 79. Tangua raised her head with a pale face. Unfortunately, because of the makeup on her face, no one could see her real face. Seeing Long Rui's stiff expression, her lips curved slightly. Long Rui looked at her and wanted to say something. He instinctively wanted to call for help. In the next moment, the woman could no longer hold on and fell. Even though she had fallen, she still looked at him with a smile. At that moment, Long Rui's face turned pale. Just as Tangua was about to touch the ground, he couldn't care about anything else and caught her. When he hugged her, he realized that her body was really cold. Her neck was covered in cold sweat, and her skin was so pale. She was so weak that she couldn't close her eyes. Fresh blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Lung Rui panicked. At this moment, he couldn't care less about the smell that he didn't like. He carried Tangua and ran down the stairs frantically. Go to the hospital. The fans below the stage also felt that something was wrong, especially the fans closer to the stage. They also saw the scene of Tang Guo falling down and panicked. They were all asking their Guagua what happened. Mr. Long, we're sorry. We tried our best. Miss Tang's cancer cells have spread throughout her body. We can't save her. The cancer cells had spread throughout her body? Lung Rue couldn't accept this result at all. He grabbed the doctor, and his eyes were red. She doesn't have cancer at all. I personally accompanied her to the hospital for a checkup 3 days ago. He took out a medical report and threw it at the doctor's face. Take a look for yourself. Is this a report from your hospital? The doctor held the medical report in fear. The results were just as Long Rue had said. Other than anemia, Tangwa didn't have the so-called stomach cancer, and no cancer cells had spread throughout her body. This was a serious matter. The doctor hurriedly took out the previous checkup records. Every time Tangwa had a checkup, it showed that there was nothing wrong with Tangwa's body at the time of the checkup. Even Long Rue couldn't do anything to them in the face of such evidence. Hence, from a medical point of view, they could only treat this as a very rare and hidden cancer cell. Even medical equipment couldn't detect it. If it wasn't for Long Rue's terrifying appearance, they would have even suggested that they study Tangwa's body. Long Rue was faster than them and took Tangwa's body away on the same day. From the hospital to the Long family's old mansion, he put Tangwa into the crystal coffin that he had made a long time ago. Just like that, he lay down in the crystal coffin with her in his arms. His face was expressionless as he constantly touched the woman's pale face. He didn't say anything. He just hugged her quietly and touched the pale skin on her face gently, as if he was wiping a treasure. He wanted to make up for everything he had done all these years. However, this was already a cold corpse. Long Rue let her go. When Long Rue carried Tangwa back to Longjia's old house, he knew what Long Rue was going to do. You didn't want to touch her when she was alive, but after she died, you held her tightly in your arms. Long Rue, I never thought that you were such a person. Chen Yuesheng smiled miserably. Do you really mind that she was once Lung Ziyue's girlfriend? If you like clean women, why don't you find someone else? Chapter 80. Lung Rue placed Tangwa's body in the crystal coffin and laid in it for 3 days. Chen Yuesheng couldn't persuade him and had to leave with heavy steps. On the 3rd day, Lung Ziyue came in. Although Tangwa's death caused a huge commotion outside, and everyone was silently wiping tears for Tangwa, Tangwa's death caused a huge commotion. That grand concert was also known as the last concert. Every time they thought of Tangwa and listened to her singing, the fans couldn't help but cry. They really missed her, missed the angel who only focused on music. She was so perfect, the angel in their hearts. She left them just like that, and the day she left was actually the night of her birthday. They were still wishing her a happy birthday, but they didn't expect to see her death. The entire sky was foggy, as if even the heavens were grieving for this young woman. Dad, come out. Lung Ziyue pursed his lips. He looked at the woman in the crystal coffin and his heart collapsed. If he had known that his words would cause so many regrets, he wouldn't have said those words. He didn't feel the thrill of revenge at all. He regretted it very much. If he could turn back time, he wouldn't have been moved on the day Lu Qi came back. He would have held Tangwa's hand tightly. He would have said to her, Xiaogua, let's be together for the rest of our lives. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. I'm sorry, Xiaogua. Lung Ziyue covered his face with both hands and cried in a low voice. Actually, there's nothing between Xiaogua and me. Nothing happened. Nothing really happened. Lung Rue finally had some expression and his sharp gaze fell on Lung Ziyue. For the first time, Lung Ziyue looked directly at Lung Rue. Nothing really happened. I was jealous of you and didn't want her by your side. Coincidentally, Lu Qi, who came to find Lung Ziyue, heard this sentence and was stunned. Lung Ziyue? Lung Ziyue was a little flustered. He didn't know what to do when he saw Lu Qi walking over. Lung Rue sneered and carefully placed Tangwa in the crystal coffin. He waved his hand and both Lung Ziyue and Lu Qi were taken out. Lung Rue lit his cigarette again. He had not smoked in a long time. He looked cold, but only he knew that he no longer had a heart. He threw a document in front of Lung Ziyue. When Lung Ziyue opened it, He froze on the spot and looked at Lu Qi in disbelief. It recorded all the things that Lu Qi had done to frame Tanghua in the dark over the years. Although she failed every time, everything was true. Lu Qi, let's divorce, Lung Ziyue said coldly. Lu Qi widened her eyes and finally flipped open the document Lung Ziyue threw in front of her. She still shook her head. Ziyue, I just like you too much. Really, I'm just afraid that she will snatch you away. Besides, I didn't succeed. Enough? Lung Rue had already finished smoking a cigarette. His face was indifferent, and no one could tell what he was thinking. Suddenly, a strange smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. She said that she would let you grow old together. How can you divorce? In short, Lung Ziyue and Lu Qi's fates could no longer be separated. They were locked up on a small island and lived a primitive life. Later, Lu Qi went crazy and raped Lung Ziyue when he was not paying attention. She even gave birth to a child. Lung Ziyue lived in incomparable pain for the rest of his life. As for Lung Rue, he went back to the Long family's old house to sleep every day. The place where he slept was no longer a high-end mattress, but a coffin. Next to the coffin was Tanghua's crystal coffin. He seemed to have gone crazy. Every day before he went to bed, he would say good morning to her when he woke up. He could not sleep anywhere. Only lying in the coffin and listening to Tanghua's songs could he fall asleep. One day was like 10 years of torture. In just a few years, Long Rue had aged beyond recognition. One day, he did not go to the company. The people from the company came to the Long family's old house and saw him in the coffin with a smile on his face. He was already dead. The things in the coffin were all things that Tanghua had bought for him. Tanghua was soaking in the heavenly spring at the transit station. This was the place she would go every time she left the world. After leaving that world, she did not look back to see what happened after. In short, she was happy that the people living in that world continued to suffer. Chapter 81. That's right. His excellent and carefully selected cannon fodder host had once again destroyed the world. Tanghua opened her eyes. A smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Her smile was really pure. There were 2 revised versions of the book you wrote. One was edited by Long Rue, and the other was edited by Chen Yuesheng. No, it should be 3 versions. The last version was edited by Lung Ziyue. However, with his current situation, there was no way he could publish this version. The system knew that Tanghua was listening, although she did not want to waste time to see how the story developed. However, Tanghua did not refuse to listen to what the system said. The ending of Long Rue's version was that he found Tanghua and protected her wholeheartedly. He helped her overcome obstacles and made Tanghua famous all over the world. In the end, the 2 of them got married and lived happily ever after. Host, if you look at this ending, you will know that Long Rue still has a bright side. Look at yourself. You are full of darkness, extreme, and vengeful aura. It makes people tremble. He did not dare to keep scolding Tanghua. Seeing that Tanghua's eyes were not right, he quickly told her Chen Yuesheng's version. It was written in the book that after Tanghua and Lung Ziyue broke up, Chen Yuesheng appeared and took Tanghua away. The reason was that he thought that Tanghua sang very well and decided to sign her. After the 2 of them worked together again and again, the sparks of love were created. He promoted Tanghua and messed with Lu Qi while he was at it. He also set up Lu Qi and Lung Ziyue to get married. He also designed a chaotic marriage between the 2 of them and successfully brought Tanghua onto the world stage. The ending was that the 2 of them got married and lived happily ever after. This is the revised content of Lung Ziyue's version. He wrote that although he still liked Lu Qi when he saw her return, he realized that he had already fallen in love with Tanghua. After careful consideration, he felt that his love for Lu Qi was just unwillingness. Therefore, he did not break up with Tanghua. Instead, he got engaged with her early. After getting married, as a good man, he would help Tanghua realize her dream. In the middle, despite Lu Qi's obstructions, he did not hesitate to help Tanghua solve it. He was determined not to let anyone hurt Tanghua. In short, the ending was still happy. After saying that, the system wanted to see Tanghua's reaction. However, he only heard a sneer. Boring. Next world. The system sighed. Its female supporting host was becoming more and more willful. It wondered if the next world would collapse. Xiaoguo, what are you looking at? The young man behind him walked to Tanggua's side. He was handsome, 188 centimeters tall, and wore a white shirt and khaki trousers. He had one hand in his trouser pocket and a faint smile hung on the corner of his mouth. Coupled with her perfect facial features, she would probably be stuck in a traffic jam if she walked out. The young man was not very close to Tanggua, and he was standing at a certain distance from her. It should be said that there was alienation in his eyes. He was the adopted son of the family Tang, and his name was Tang Zheng. She was Tanggua, the little princess of the family Tang. Therefore, she should call the person beside her brother. Xiaogua, you like him? The young man's lips curved into a smile. That's Lin Yiqi, the only son of the Lin family. Xiaogua, you have good taste. Although he was praising, the young man's eyes were as calm as an ancient well. It should be said that he did not like the person he was praising. If it was the original Tanggua, she would not have noticed this. Chapter 82. Tanggua gracefully sat on the sofa and glanced at Lin Yiqi in the distance. Finally, her gaze landed on Tang Zheng. She narrowed her eyes and drank a mouthful of red wine as if she wasn't interested in Tang Zheng's Lin Yiqi. Brother. The girl's soft and sweet voice made Tang Zheng abruptly pause and lower his head. He maintained a reserved smile on his face and walked over. Brother, I'm drunk. I'm a bit dizzy. The girl's cheeks were pink and her eyes were misty. Her white and tender face was rosy, making her look very pretty. She leaned weakly on the sofa and frowned slightly. She wished that people could bring all the beauty in the world to her and let her choose. The system watched from the side and really felt like it was a dog. Its host was really capable. Just a moment ago, she was still in high spirits and looked normal. She could easily drink a few boxes of beer in one go. After drinking half a glass of red wine, she said that she was drunk. She even looked like she was drunk. Motherfucker, the host was getting more and more eccentric. Tang Zheng's brows slightly furrowed. Just as he was about to say something, the girl got up from the sofa and said, Brother, I want to go rest for a while. Do you want to accompany me? The girl looked at Tang Zheng innocently, making him unable to refuse, even though he was very against contact with the girl. However, seeing that she was swaying and could fall if he wasn't careful, he still walked over and supported her like a gentleman. But he didn't expect that just as he supported her, the girl leaned on him with all her strength. The young girl's fragrance made him unconsciously take a deep breath. He accepted his fate and helped Tanggua to the lounge. At the same time, Lin Yiqi walked over. Do you need help? Lin Yiqi's gaze fell on the girl's face, and his eyes flashed with surprise. Miss Tang seems to be drunk. Tang Zheng glanced at the girl in his arms, and then looked at the light in Lin Yiqi's eyes. He didn't know why, but he helped Tanggua to the lounge and didn't pay attention to Lin Yiqi. When he helped Tanggua into the room, he frowned and stared at the drunk girl on the bed. His goal today was to make the girl fall in love with Lin Yiqi, so that Tang Liqing wouldn't force him to marry Tanggua in the future. He did not dislike the family Tang group. He just did not want to be a chess piece. When he was taken out of the orphanage, Tang Liqing had instilled in him the idea that he would be the future son-in-law of the family Tang group. If Tanggua fell in love with another man, with her temperament, she would definitely not be willing to be with him, and he would be able to get rid of this trouble. It was clearly a good opportunity just now, so why did he reject it? Brother, I want to drink water. Unknowingly, the young girl had already climbed up from the bed. She rubbed her eyes and looked at Tang Zheng in confusion. She was as clean as an angel, making people not want to hurt her even a little. Tang Zheng pursed his lips and turned around to pour her a cup of water. He placed it in front of her, and just as the young girl raised her hand to receive the cup, he let go. Unexpectedly, the young girl did not seem to be holding it steadily and the cup fell, drenching her body. The water was a bit hot, but luckily Tang Zheng was a gentleman and received warm water. Otherwise, the young girl's chest would have been scalded red. The young girl looked a bit confused and helpless, causing Tang Zheng's heart to fiercely twitch. If he didn't think of adding cold water, then the clean young girl would have been injured. At this time, the young girl's chest was wet, revealing her beautiful curves. He hurriedly moved away. I didn't hold it steadily. There's no water to drink. Chapter 83. The young girl quietly drank the water, and Tang Zheng looked at her seriously swallowing the water in small mouthfuls. She was no longer as calm as before. Seeing that the paper cup was empty, he asked curiously, "Xiao Guo, do you want more?" The young girl lifted her head, revealing her beautiful eyes, and nodded seriously, "Brother, I want more." Her soft and sweet voice caused Tang Zheng's throat to dry up as a strange feeling rose in his heart. However, this strange feeling was quickly dispelled by him. He took another paper cup and waited for the young girl to finish drinking. Seeing that she had no intention of wanting more, he let out a sigh of relief. "I'll go get the dress for you. You rest for a bit." "Okay, brother. I'll wait for you to come back." Tang Zheng closed the door and pulled on his collar. He was a bit annoyed as he hurriedly left. In the room, Tangwa's lips curled into a smile. Her smile was bewitching. Where was the purity from before? "System, what the hell?" The system carefully asked, "Host, what kind of earth-shattering thing are you planning to do in this world? You have to know that in the last world, because of your death, the entire world became your fans. Because they couldn't accept it, they couldn't recover for decades. So it's like this." Tangwa's lips curled up in satisfaction as she softly laughed. "That's good. She should be satisfied that so many people are sad for her." The system had long since given up hope that its host would obediently live the life of a cannon fodder. Moreover, it had a faint feeling that no matter what the host did, nothing bad would happen. If that was the case, it couldn't be bothered to stop it. It would only occasionally remind it. It would tell the host to be careful. If something happened one day, it really wouldn't be able to help her. "Host, what do you plan to do?" Tangwa played with her phone and casually asked, "What do you think?" The system cried. It just couldn't guess. It should be said that it didn't dare to guess. It felt that no matter how bad its guess was, it wouldn't be as bad as the host's plan. Tangwa put down the paper cup and began to browse the plot of this world. The male lead of this world was Lin Yiqi, and the female lead was Gu Qingqing. Lin Yiqi was the young master of House Lin, and Gu Qingqing was a small employee under him. For some reason, she became his personal secretary. Just like that, the two of them had a spark of love. Because Gu Qingqing's identity was ordinary, the two of them had been having a secret relationship. And she, Tangwa, was born to be the little princess of the family Tang. The Tang couple doted on their daughter very much and only wanted one daughter. Later on, they were afraid that their daughter would be bullied if she married into another family. When Tangwa was 3 years old, the family Tang couple went to the orphanage to adopt an 8-year-old boy. This person was Tang Zheng, the husband they prepared for the little family Tang princess. It's just that Tang Zheng was born smart, and when he found out about the family's plans, he endured it and used the family to grow up. He was also very unfamiliar with Tangwa. Especially after knowing the family Tang couple's plan, he did not plan to have much contact with this younger sister. The older he got, the more he disliked having his life arranged by others. At this time, Tang Zheng had already built his own business in private. It could be said that even if he left the family Tang now, it wouldn't have any impact. But because of his excellence, the family Tang couple became more and more satisfied. Just a few days ago, they were discussing whether to ask the two of them. If the two of them had feelings for each other, they might as well get them engaged. Chapter 84. The Lin Corporation was in a crisis, and the Lin Corporation and Tang Corporation had some relationship. He heard that the Lin couple was willing to marry the Tang Corporation. Tang Zheng felt that the opportunity had come, so he brought along Tangwa, who had always been unwilling to attend parties. The family Tang couple didn't suspect anything. They thought that he was close to Tangwa because he had feelings for her and was very willing. Tang Zheng's plan was very successful, and Tangwa trusted her brother very much. Her brother said that he was a good person, and she gradually felt that Lin Yiqi was really good. After all, he was the male lead of this world, so he definitely had a male lead aura. Unsurprisingly, Tangwa fell in love with Lin Yiqi. Because Lin Yiqi had someone he liked, of course, he didn't want to marry Tangwa. But the crisis facing the Lin Corporation forced him to compromise. In addition, Tangwa pestered him every day, which made him very annoyed. He was very unhappy in his heart. He felt that since the Tang Corporation was a friend of the Lin Corporation, why didn't they help him? Why did they insist on giving him a woman? As the male lead, Lin Ichi began to hate Tang Kor. In the end, he married Tanghua, but she was just a decoration. He took advantage of Tanghua's love and continued to devour the Tang Corporation. Soon, the Tang Corporation went bankrupt, and the status of the family Tang's little princess plummeted, and she became a poor girl. After the Tang Corporation went bankrupt, Lin Ichi openly had an office relationship with Gu Qingqing. One time, Tanghua bumped into them. As the little princess, of course, she couldn't stand it. The more Tanghua made things difficult for Gu Qingqing, the more Lin Ichi hated her. Because every time Tanghua appeared, she didn't give them any face, so the two of them hated Tanghua. Lin Ichi officially asked for a divorce, and Tanghua obviously didn't accept it. At this time, she still loved Lin Ichi. Later, she accidentally heard that the Tang Corporation's bankruptcy was Lin Ichi's conspiracy. Lin Ichi said this in front of Father Tang at the hospital, and Father Tang was angry because of this. Not long after, Mother Tang also passed away. Tanghua, who had lost her family, could no longer bear all this. She was ready to kill these two people with a knife. In the end, she was sent to a mental hospital by Lin Ichi and was hacked to death by one of the patients there. This was the tragic life of the original owner. She was really just a cannon fodder. She liked the wrong person and caused the destruction of her family. After reading the original plot, Tanghua revealed a very sweet smile. What about Tangjing after that? The system trembled, but still honestly said, after Tanghua got married, he went abroad. By the time he found out, it was Tanghua's corpse. After that, he remembered the family Tang's upbringing and went against Lin Ichi. Then, he was also successfully killed as cannon fodder. Tanghua's lips curled into a smile. Hee, so you're just cannon fodder. How disappointing. I thought that Tang Zheng's plan was so meticulous, and that his sister would fall in love with someone else. I didn't think that he would be killed so easily. The system hurriedly added, actually, Lin Ichi didn't get off easy. At least he and Gu Qingqing were tortured by Tang Zheng. In the end, they were left with half their lives. Gu Qingqing lost the ability to have children, and Lin Ichi broke his leg. Oh, that's not bad. Hearing its host's praise, the system couldn't feel happy. Host, can you secretly tell me what your plan is? Chapter 85. Tang Zheng quickly returned and placed the clean dress in front of Tanghua. Tanghua held the dress and went to the bathroom, while Tang Zheng waited outside, sitting under the dim light. The voice from the bathroom was exceptionally clear. Brother. A soft voice interrupted Tang Zheng's thoughts. What's wrong? I can't zip it up. Tang Zheng's fingers were a bit stiff as he got up to look for her. Unexpectedly, the girl had already walked out and obediently turned around in front of him. Brother, help me. The girl turned around and revealed a playful smile. Sorry to trouble, brother. Tang Zheng pursed his lips. Before he could refuse, the girl turned around, leaving him with a snow-white back with perfect curves. Even so, he was only dazed for a moment before he helped the girl zip it up. It's done. Tang Zheng's palms were a bit sweaty. Tanghua stood up and naturally held Tang Zheng's arm. Brother, let's go out. The girl's voice carried a bit of excitement, as if she really wanted to go out. Tang Zheng walked with his long legs and didn't reject the girl's closeness as he brought her back into the crowd. When Lin Ichi saw Tanghua appear, he walked over and asked in a very gentlemanly manner, Miss Tang, are you okay? And Tanghua nodded. I'm much better. At this time, Lin Ichi had already promised his family to get close to Tanghua. Seeing such a clean girl, he didn't reject her as much. Then can I ask Miss Tang for a dance? Tanghua didn't answer Lin Ichi's question. Instead, she tilted her head and looked at Tang Zheng. Brother, can I dance with him? Tang Zheng saw the girl's eyes as if she was looking forward to dancing with Lin Ichi. For some reason, his heart felt a bit uncomfortable. But then he thought of his own plan, which was to make Tanghua fall in love with Lin Ichi. He placed Tanghua's hand in Lin Ichi's. As long as Xiaogua likes it, Tanghua turned around and smiled, moving closer to Tang Zheng's ear. Brother said he's good. She winked at Tang Zheng and was brought to the dance floor by Lin Ichi. Tang Zheng, who stayed in the same place, didn't have as easy as he imagined. The girl danced with Lin Yi, making him feel strangely irritated. Frowning, his gaze never left the two of them. He didn't know what Linichi had said to the girl, but he didn't see her smiling so happily even back at home. Tang Zheng pursed his thin lips and took a light sip of the red wine, feeling that it was extremely difficult to swallow. Mr. Tang. A beautiful woman walked over from the side. Tang Zheng recognized this woman. She was a popular second-rate actress. Mr. Tang, would you like to dance together? Normally, Tang Zheng would not refuse a lady's request. Even if he did not have any thoughts, he would still leave some face for the other party. At this moment, he was not in the mood to dance at all. The female celebrity wasn't an ignorant person. She smiled and gave herself a way out. It seems that it's not convenient for Mr. Tang. What a pity. Next time then. When the female celebrity turned around, a fair and slender hand suddenly appeared in front of her. She looked up in surprise. Mr. Tang, aren't we dancing? Tang Zheng smiled elegantly and held the female star's hand in a gentlemanly manner. The two entered the dance floor together. Dancing with a stranger, Tang Zheng seemed to have forgotten the discomfort the girl gave him. He subconsciously looked for the girl's figure on the dance floor, but he didn't see Tang Gua. Chapter 86. I didn't expect Mr. Tang to dance so well. Su Fangfei pursed her lips and smiled. Her watery eyes didn't leave the man in front of her for a second. Before this, she really didn't think that the proud son of the family Tang would agree to dance with her. This was really a big surprise. She didn't know that the person holding her dancing was not thinking about her. Ever since Tang Zheng found the girl's figure, his eyes swept over from time to time. Linichi sat next to the girl and said something with a smile. With young Master Lin's means, it should be easy to make a girl happy. But Tang Zheng clearly felt that the girl was not happy. Xiao Gua is not interested in this. It's a holiday right now. How about I take you somewhere else tomorrow? Originally, Linichi didn't want to come into contact with Tang Gua. After all, he already had someone he liked. But after coming into contact with Tang Gua, he didn't know why. But if he had to marry a woman in the future, Tang Gua in front of him was very suitable. Tang Gua raised her eyelids and slightly lowered her eyes. The corner of her mouth curved. Thank you, Brother Lin. That would be too troublesome. The more distant and polite Tang Gua was, the more Linichi didn't reject her. He forgot how much his family rejected him when they asked him to get close to Tang Gua. Brother Lin, it seems that someone is looking for you. You don't have to worry about me. Linichi looked and saw that it was indeed two important people at the banquet. He apologized a few times and left with them. After Linichi left, many people came to invite Tang Gua to dance, but she rejected them all. Tang Zheng saw this and was slightly relieved. When the song was over, he didn't have time to say anything to Su Fangfei and quickly walked to Tang Gua's position. The girl seemed to be bored to death and looked at the dance floor with her chin in her hand. When she saw him go over, the flash of joy in her eyes was not missed by him. Tang Zheng didn't know where the joy in his heart came from. He just followed his heart and quickly walked in front of her. Finally, he thought of something and pretended to be reserved and picked up a glass of red wine. His expression became a lot more indifferent as he sat beside her. Brother, you're finally back. The young girl's joyful tone pleased Tang Zheng. He put down the wine cup and unconsciously rubbed the young girl's head, feeling that it was very nice to the touch. The girl's brilliant smile made him feel a little guilty. However, this guilt was quickly suppressed by him. Even if he didn't hate Tang Gua, he didn't like to be manipulated by others. Before the family Tang couple made a decision, they had to make Tang Gua fall in love with someone else. Thinking of this, Tang Zheng's face returned to its previous alienation. Xiao Gua, what do you think about Linichi? Tang Zheng squeezed the wine glass and casually asked. He is one of the rare business geniuses of the Lin family. Our family Tang and the Lin family have some relations, so we know each other well. After Tang Zheng finished speaking, he discovered that the young girl was staring at him without blinking, causing him to feel somewhat uncomfortable. What is it? Big brother, do you think he's good? The girl asked innocently. Tang Zheng squeezed the wine glass and couldn't help but use some strength before finally saying, I think he's very good. Oh. The girl lowered her head for a moment and said in a very low voice, since Big Brother thinks he's good, then he must be a good person. Big brother Lin said that he would ask me out to play some other day. Tangwa blinked her eyes and asked seriously, since Big brother says he's good, then I shouldn't refuse him? Chapter 87. Before leaving the party, Tangwa ran in front of Linichi and smiled brightly. Brother Lin, my brother said that you're a good person, so I can go out with you? Tang Zheng, who heard the girl's words behind her, felt uncomfortable. She was really a stupid girl, spoiled by her parents. If he said he was a good person, would he really be a good person? If he said he was a good person, would he be able to go out with anyone? Tang Zheng didn't know where the displeasure in his heart came from. Anyways, this sister of his was so stupid that it was scary. She didn't seem like the daughter his parents taught at all. Tang Zheng frowned deeply, looking at Lin Ichi more and more displeasing to the eye. He originally thought that Lin Ichi was a good person. Suddenly, he felt that Lin Ichi wasn't good. He wasn't as handsome as him, wasn't as tall as him, and definitely wasn't as smart as him. His gentlemanly appearance was so fake. Tang Zheng laughed coldly. This kind of person liked to cheat the feelings of little girls the most. If the two got married in the future, with his family Xiaoguo's innocence, she would definitely be deceived by the other party. Tang Zheng pursed his lips and stared deeply at Lin Ichi. Lin Ichi felt Tang Zheng's gaze and felt that it was a bit strange. In the end, he felt that maybe Tang Zheng thought that he was good enough to be his brother-in-law, but the other party felt that he stole his sister, so he looked at him with love and hate. Thinking of this, Lin Ichi politely came over to greet Tang Zheng. Boss Tang, don't worry. When we go out to play, I'll take good care of Xiaoguo. Xiaoguo, let's go home. Tang Zheng ignored Lin Ichi and held Tangwa's hand, personally stuffed her into the car, and closed the door. His movements were fast and smooth. Glancing out the window, he saw Lin Ichi's stiff face and finally felt a bit better. Who was Lin Ichi? If he didn't bring Xiaoguo out, would he even know Xiaoguo? He even dared to say that he would take Xiaoguo out to play in front of him and would take care of her? Xiaoguo was the family Tang's little princess. Was she someone that anyone could take care of? Tangwa caught a glimpse of the person next to him. Sometimes, she showed a look of disgust, and sometimes a smile. She looked at him curiously. Tang Zheng came back to his senses and saw the young girl propping up her face and looking at him. He was a little uncomfortable. He coughed lightly and pretended to be calm as he picked up the book next to him to read. Brother, you are indeed a genius. Suddenly hearing the young girl's praise, Tang Zheng unconsciously curled the corner of his mouth. He thought to himself, this girl has some foresight. She's not so repulsed anymore. You can actually read a book upside down. Tang Zheng, system. Ahahaha. I always thought that reciting it backwards was a legend, but I never thought that one day I would be able to see it with my own eyes. The young girl's worshipful eyes made Tang Zheng not know whether to continue reading or turn the book upside down. He rubbed his forehead. Sure enough, the family's little princess was spoiled. When he was young, he knew about his parents' plans, so he had always worked hard in his studies. By the time he was 10, he had already finished all the high school courses. It took him another 2 years to finish the university courses. At the age of 12, he finally went abroad as he wished. He worked so hard because he didn't want to be manipulated by others. He wanted to avoid the family Tang's little princess. He didn't want to return to the family Tang. Even though they had been apart for a long time, Tangwa was still very close to him. If she was a smart girl, she would definitely see that he was unfamiliar with her. Brother Lin said that he would take me out to play tomorrow. Chapter 88. When did he ask for your phone number and add you on WeChat? Tang Zheng asked seriously as he fiddled with his phone. Tangwa stared at Tang Zheng. At the party, brother said that he was a good person, so I don't think there's anything wrong with giving it to him, right? After all, brother said that he was a good person. If brother doesn't like it, I'll delete him. Tangwa snatched the phone and quickly deleted Lin Ichi's WeChat and then deleted his phone number. Lin Ichi had just sent a message saying, "Where do you want to go?" when he found a red exclamation mark behind it. He was a bit confused. Everything was fine just now, so why did she delete him all of a sudden? It should be a mistake, right? Tang Zheng froze for a moment. He didn't think that Tangwa would be so straightforward. For a moment, he didn't know what to feel. I don't like people that brother doesn't like, and I don't like people that brother doesn't like. If brother doesn't like me playing with him, then I won't play with him." The girl's sweet and soft voice quietly passed through Tang Zheng's heart. Tang Zheng quickly recovered, his expression complicated. "Xiao Guo, do you want to play with him?" "Brother, why do you ask?" Tang Zheng let out a breath. "If Xiao Guo wants to play with him, I won't stop you." His original goal was to make Xiao Guo like someone else. For a long time, the person beside him didn't speak. Tang Zheng couldn't stand the silence in the car. He turned his head and saw that the girl had her head down, looking a bit down. He couldn't help but feel a bit uncomfortable. "What's wrong? Didn't brother say that he's good?" The girl raised her head, looking a bit confused and helpless. "Brother, don't you like him a lot? Why did brother say that I want to play with him?" She furrowed her brows in confusion. "Could it be that I misunderstood brother's meaning and brother doesn't like him?" The girl's performance made Tang Zheng's heart tremble. Her beautiful face was full of self-blame. "I'm really too stupid. I actually didn't realize brother's true intentions. It turns out that when brother praises someone, it doesn't necessarily mean it. It could be a compliment used to mock that person." Tang Zheng, who was shocked by Tang's imagination. "I'll be more careful next time, brother." Tangwa looked up and said seriously, "I won't just take your words at face value next time." Tang Jing, system. "Ah, host, are you serious?" The family Tang couple went abroad to travel at this time, in order to create an opportunity for the two of them to be alone together. However, they did not expect that Tang Zheng would let Tangwa like someone else during this holiday. By the time they came back, there was nothing they could do but accept the fact that Tangwa loved Lin Ichi wholeheartedly. The system really wanted to get some information from Tangwa, but its host seemed to be in a good mood and fell asleep. Next door, Tang Zheng was different. He didn't sleep well the whole night. Tang Zheng's IQ was undoubtedly very high, and from the young girl's performance, it was clear that she had a good impression of him, so much so that she would decide to like or not like someone because of him. This was undoubtedly the opposite of his goal. The next morning, Tangwa felt that Tang Zheng was unfamiliar, as if the two were just strangers. Host, Tang Zheng doesn't seem to have changed his mind. Tangwa was eating breakfast when the phone on the table suddenly rang. Chapter 89. Brother Lin? Tang Zheng's attention was immediately attracted by the girl's voice. Even though he was slowly eating his breakfast, his ears were sharp as he listened to the girl's movements. His eyes were also inadvertently observing the girl's expression. About deleting WeChat? Maybe. My hand slipped. Tang Zheng's mouth couldn't help but curve up as he discovered that the breakfast was quite delicious. Go out and play? Now? Tang Zheng's smile disappeared as he glanced over and met the girl's gaze. He heard her say, "No, come pick up Xiaoguo later." Tang Zheng snatched the phone. "She rarely goes out to play, so take good care of her." Lin Ichi was still feeling regretful, but when he heard Tang Zheng's words, he let out a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to reply, the phone was hung up. To this, he just shook his head and smiled, not caring. He just needed the family's help. At most, he didn't hate Tangwa, but now his family was giving him a lot of pressure. Even without Tangwa, there would still be other daughters from other families. Compared to the smart and capable daughters of other families, it was obviously easier to coax a spoiled little family Tang princess. "Xiaoguo, go dress up. Linichi will come pick you up in a bit." Tang Zheng returned the phone to Tangwa. He lowered his head and didn't look at Tangwa. Dress up? He didn't raise his head because he didn't want to look at the girl's eyes. He didn't know what kind of expression she would have. No matter what, he wouldn't change his original intentions. He wouldn't go against the choice he made just because he changed his view of Tangwa. Okay. She wasn't as unreasonable as he imagined. Just a single okay was enough to make him feel uncomfortable. Tang Zheng raised his head and only saw the girl's back as she hurriedly ran back to her room. He clenched his fists and in the end, only a faint smile appeared on his face. He didn't do anything else. "Host, you're really dressed up this beautifully?" The system still couldn't understand what the host was planning to do. Yesterday, it thought that the host wanted to capture Tang Zheng and make him die for her. But today, it seemed that Tang Zheng wasn't so easily swayed. Why was the host dressed so happily today? Could it be that, The host was going to woo the male lead, Linichi? My host? Didn't we agree not to touch the male lead? Tangwa pursed her lips. Did I say I wanted to touch the male lead? I'm just going to have some fun. Don't tell me you want me to stay cooped up in the house. That way, you'll be bored to death. Maybe you won't be able to figure it out and commit suicide. No, that's not what I meant. He was just worried that the host would accidentally cause the world to collapse again. Although he was used to such things, he still couldn't help but worry that the host would take revenge on society if she was unhappy. Tangwa carefully looked at her eyebrows and applied pink lipstick. The corners of her mouth curved slightly, and she changed into a pink dress that was very suitable for the little family Tang princess. With her slightly curly hair, she looked like a cute Barbie doll. If one ignored the meaningful smile on her face, even the system felt that everything was perfect. Big brother, you're the one who asked me to go. The system shuddered. What the fuck was going on? Why did it feel so dangerous to be by the host's side? In the end, the system couldn't help but ask, Host, are you going to take revenge on Tang Zheng? Am I? Yes, I'm very sure. Then let's see how they perform. If I'm satisfied, then maybe I'll give them a good ending. Chapter 90. Brother, am I pretty? The young girl walked down the stairs like a cute Barbie doll, making people want to hold her in their hands and take care of her. Pretty. Tang Zheng couldn't say something that went against his heart, so he subconsciously ignored the discomfort in his heart. The young girl quickly walked to his side and tried to hug his arm, but he gently avoided her. He didn't ignore the disappointment in her eyes. This feeling of rejecting her made his heart twitch. Linichi is here. Oh. The young girl followed behind while Tang Zheng walked in front with his eyebrows furrowed. Linichi was holding a bouquet of red roses, and after Tangwa came out, he gave the flowers to the young girl. The young girl holding the roses looked even more beautiful. Protect her well. Tang Zheng pursed his lips and only said this one sentence. Don't let anyone bully her. Boss Tang, don't worry. I will take good care of Xiao Gua and won't let her be bullied. Linichi walked over and helped Tangwa into the car. The moment the car door closed, Tang Zheng seemed to have noticed the young girl's gaze on his body, clean and clear. He hurriedly turned around and didn't realize that his footsteps were actually a bit awkward. Ever since Tangwa was picked up by Lin Yiqi, Tang Zheng was always restless. He looked at the clock from time to time, and the assistant beside him thought that he had something urgent to deal with, so when he reported his work, he couldn't help but speak a lot faster. Boss Tang, is there something urgent? Tang Zheng paused. Continue. Yes. Following that, Tang Zheng couldn't help but look at his watch, and his eyebrows furrowed. How come only half an hour has passed? The assistant's forehead was covered in cold sweat, as he had never seen Boss Tang so anxious. He quickly finished what he wanted to say and slipped out of the office, letting out a long sigh of relief. Finally, Tang Jing dialed Tangwa's number. Brother? The obviously cheerful voice made Tang Jing feel a bit of regret. It's nothing. I just wanted to call you and ask if you were bullied. Thank you, Big Brother. Big Brother Lin has always taken good care of me. No one bullied me. From the girl's voice, he could tell that she had not been bullied. Big Brother Lin brought me to East Lake to play. There are so many lotus flowers here. They are so beautiful. Big Brother, do you want to see? I'll take some photos for you. No need. Tang Zheng coldly hung up the phone. The corner of his mouth lifted into a cold smile. She'd said yesterday that she'd listen to him, but today she was so smitten by Lin Yiqi that she couldn't even tell north from south. However, his phone soon rang. He opened it and saw a photo taken by Tangwa. The lotus flowers were indeed very beautiful, but why was there a certain person's beautiful face on every lotus flower? This was not a picture of the scenery at all. It was clearly a selfie. The young girl smiled brightly, and even those beautiful flowers could not compare to her beauty. Brother, is East Lake beautiful? Following that, he received news from the girl. Tang Zheng could not help but reply, It looks good. The scenery was beautiful, but the people were even more beautiful. After replying, he threw the phone away in annoyance. Pursing his lips, he listened to the incessant notifications. He immediately turned off the phone and threw it away. Tangwa raised her eyebrows, Looking at the series of photos she sent, and seeing that she did not receive a reply, she let out a low chuckle. She casually threw the phone into the water, and with a splash, it attracted Lin Ichi's attention. "What's wrong?" Tangua's face was very innocent. "I accidentally dropped my phone in the lake." Chapter 91. Tangua leaned on the edge of the boat, anxiously looking for the phone that she accidentally dropped in the lake. "Is that phone important to you?" Lin Ichi didn't think that the little princess of Family Tang would be anxious because of a lost phone. Obviously, he had already figured out that the phone meant a lot to Tangua. Tangua heard his words and raised her head, looking at Lin Ichi with sparkling eyes. "Yeah, how did you know?" "You look very anxious," Lin Ichi smiled. "So it should mean a lot to you." "Yeah." The corners of Tangua's mouth curved. "That's a gift my brother brought back from abroad. I haven't used it for long. If my brother finds out that I accidentally lost his gift, he'll be very unhappy." Lin Ichi wanted to comfort her, but he felt his sleeve being pulled. "Brother Lin, can you help me find my phone?" The system silently measured the depth and area of East Lake, as well as the surrounding people, and came to a conclusion. Its host was up to something. Lin Ichi couldn't bring himself to reject the girl's pleading face. "Can't I?" Seeing the girl's disappointed expression, Lin Ichi blurted out without thinking, "No, I'll help you find it." After saying that, Lin Ichi was a little annoyed. He suddenly realized that his brain couldn't control his speech nerves. Usually, he would think carefully before he spoke. This kind of state would only appear when Ching Ching angered him. According to Tangua's understanding, the relationship between Ching Ching and Lin Ichi was still in the process of breaking in. To be exact, the two of them liked each other and didn't like each other, but it wasn't to the point where it was deep. Otherwise, with the male lead's personality, he wouldn't marry for the sake of family connections. "Brother Lin, are you really going to help me find my phone?" Tangua looked down. "But the water is so deep. Can you swim?" Brother Lin looks like a gentleman. He doesn't look like someone who would go into the water. Lin Ichi, he really didn't know why the little princess of Family Tang thought that he had to go into the water himself to help her find her phone. The knowledgeable system. You can understand it as watching too many dramas. His host was a troublesome little demon. Lin Ichi was just about to say that he'd send someone down to look for her when he felt a tug on his sleeve. "Big Brother Lin, so the guests here can really go into the water. Look at the gentleman on the boat over there. He's helping his girlfriend get into the water to pick the lotus pods." Following Tangua's words, Lin Ichi saw a man taking off his jacket and trousers, putting on a survival suit and diving into the water to harvest the lotuses. This was not the only example. It could be seen everywhere. Lin Yi turned around and saw the little princess of the family's focused, sparkling eyes. Lin Yi swallowed the words he was about to say. "I'll call someone to retrieve the phone right now." "Big Brother Lin, are you unwilling?" "Of course, it's my pleasure to serve my beautiful little princess." Lin Ichi smiled gently as he patted Tangua's head. "Just you wait." He, Lin Ichi, was never one to give up halfway. He'd sacrificed so much already, and it'd be a joke if he failed. As expected, Big Brother was right. It wasn't a sarcastic remark. Big Brother Lin is a good person. Lin Ichi felt much better after being praised by the little princess of the family. Chapter 92. Tangua watched as Lin Ichi entered the water, patting her hair as if she was trying to get rid of something dirty. System. He remembered that the host wasn't a clean freak. Tangua held her chin as she stared at the man swimming in the lake. Her lips curved. "When do you think he'll find the phone?" "Host, are you really a devil?" "He's the male lead, after all. Don't you feel guilty for making fun of him like this?" When Lin Ichi looked over, Tangua returned a sweet smile and said sensibly, "Big Brother Lin, if you can't find it then forget it. You should come up. Lake East is so big, it's normal if you can't find it. It's just a phone, I don't want it anymore." As the male lead, Lin Ichi naturally wouldn't agree. He had no choice but to go down the lake, but now he swore that he would find the phone that tortured him and see what it was like. "Ah, you're really dedicated." The system wasn't happy to hear its host's praise. It was afraid that the male lead and female lead would be tortured to death by its host before they could love each other deeply. Fortunately, its host had a sense of propriety and wouldn't kill the male lead and female lead so easily. She said it as if she had killed them before. However, in a world after Tangwa became evil, she did kill the male lead and female lead. What was the result of their death? Because the male lead and female lead didn't have a lifespan, they were killed prematurely, causing the world they built to collapse instantly. The system and its host regretfully went to the next world. It was also at that time that his smart host came to a conclusion. She could jump around in any world and change her fate as she pleased. The only thing she couldn't change was her lifespan. At most, under certain conditions, she could extend it by 10 years. The system was even shocked to find that as long as its host wanted to, she could do something. As for the mission she completed obediently at the beginning, acting out the life of a cannon fodder, it understood that the host didn't even know what she wanted to do, which was why she was sent to so many worlds. What are you thinking? Lung Ju Ding's voice rang out, causing the system to regain its senses. He faintly said, "Host, I've discovered something extremely inconceivable. You can overshadow the male lead and female lead's aura. MMP, this is really amazing." The system's heart was very complicated. What did this mean? It meant that she could destroy a world if she wanted to. He was starting to doubt his life. He even felt the need to examine the meaning of his existence. Was it an existence that restrained the host, or was it a pet of the host? Tang Zheng, who had turned off his phone for an hour, finally remembered to turn it on. As soon as he turned on his phone, he couldn't wait to read the messages sent by Tangwa. As he read, the smile on his face disappeared. This was because he realized that Tangwa had not sent any more messages after he turned off his phone for a minute. He gripped his phone tightly, looked at the time, and called the villa. "Not back yet." "Yes, young master. At this time, Miss should be eating outside." Tang Zheng couldn't help but look at the time. 11:20. It was indeed time to eat. Tang Zheng put down his phone and after a few minutes, picked it up again and dialed Tangwa's number. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable. Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable." Chapter 93. Tang Zheng pursed his lips and flipped through the message records. Looking at the girl who was more beautiful than a lotus, a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. That little pink mouth really knew how to coax people. He must have been possessed to believe her nonsense. However, wasn't the result very much what he wanted? In the end, Tang Zheng casually threw the phone aside and didn't pay attention to anything about Tangwa anymore. It was as if he had driven the girl's figure out of his mind at that moment. After wandering in the East Lake for nearly an hour, Lin Ichi, who almost knelt down for a phone, finally found Tangwa's phone in the mud. Tangwa was a little surprised. To be honest, she was really surprised. Then she sighed. As expected of the male lead, he could even fish out a phone after throwing it into the East Lake. Lin Ichi also very gentlemanly wiped the phone clean and handed it to Tangwa. "Thank you, Brother Lin. You're so nice." Tangwa wouldn't be stingy with the good guy card. Lin Ichi, who'd been upset at first, suddenly felt as if he'd done something as wonderful as helping an old man cross the road. He was very satisfied. He really saw a ghost. "Brother Lin, let's not play in the East Lake today. You've been swimming in the water for so long. I'm afraid you'll catch a cold. Go home first and let the doctor take a look at you. My mother said that to prevent a cold, it's best to boil a bowl of ginger soup and have a good sleep. If you get sick because of this, I'll feel very sorry." Lin Ichi's heart felt comfortable. Wasn't it just fishing for a broken phone in the East Lake? In fact, it was a different kind of experience. Especially when he felt the care of the family's little princess, Lin Ichi felt comfortable both physically and mentally. In his current state, there was really no need to play anymore. He still cared about his image. Today's end was also a gain. Tangwa was also very considerate and said that he would take a taxi back, so that he wouldn't catch a cold and make her worry. Lin Ichi also felt that his body wasn't very comfortable, so he didn't force it. The system understood that its host had played enough teasing Lin Ichi and didn't want to face him for the time being. Tangwa returned to the villa and felt that the entire villa was in the cold winter. It was clearly the hot summer. As if she didn't know anything, she went to her room as usual. Just as she reached the door, she felt a cold gaze and turned her head to look. Tang Zheng stood at the door and looked at her deeply for a while, thinking that she would explain something. In the end, she didn't say a single word, and her face became colder and colder. Brother? Tang Zheng suddenly recovered his smile, which was a bit strange. He smiled faintly and walked up to Tang Guo. Did you have fun? His voice was calm and distant, and no one could tell what he meant. It's all right. Tang Zheng's pupils darkened, but he didn't show it on his face as he maintained his smile. It seems that Lin Yiqi has taken good care of Xiao Guo. Tang Guo pinched her dress. Her nervous look was very realistic. If the system didn't know that all of this was fake, it would have thought that its host was really scared. Do you have a date tomorrow? Tang Zheng's voice was gentle and distant, just like in the past. Tang Guo carefully looked at him and pursed her lips. No. If Xiao Guo likes Lin Yiqi, brother won't object. You two are a good match. Ah. Chapter 94. Doesn't Xiao Guo like Lin Yiqi? Tang Zheng's smile was strange as he reached out to caress the girl's smooth cheeks and whispered into her ear. When Mom and Dad come back, Xiao Guo can tell them that you and Lin Yiqi love each other and they won't object. After all, the two of you are a good match. After speaking, Tang Zheng didn't know why, but his heart suddenly felt empty. His eyebrows furrowed as he didn't like this feeling. The girl pursed her lips as she pinched her dress and lowered her eyes. Her helpless appearance really made one want to trample on her. You two are a perfect match. Mom and Dad will be happy to help you two hold a wedding. Tang Guo abruptly raised her head, and Tang Zheng discovered that her lips were very pale. But he didn't pay it much mind as he thought it was because the girl was nervous after being exposed. Is this what Big Brother wants? Tang Zheng froze as he didn't expect the girl to ask such a question. He didn't think too much about it and said, Of course. Lin Yiqi looks perfect, doesn't he? The girl lowered her head and said in a low voice, If this is what Big Brother wants, then I will tell Mom and Dad when they come back. Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows and laughed. Then you should rest early. He turned and went back to his room. Tang Zheng, who returned to his room, didn't look as calm as before. Instead, his face was dark as if something had gone wrong. In contrast to Tang Zheng's displeasure, the depressed Tang Guo went back to her room and locked the door. She leisurely laid on her bed and ate snacks while she was at it. System. What happened to the girl who was abandoned by her big brother? What? Host, what are you doing? The system thought back to what Tang was said before. Is this what Big Brother wants? This sentence was so familiar that it had to go back to the original plot. It was shocked to find that this was the same sentence the original host said to Tang Zheng before Tang Guo agreed to Lin Yiqi's proposal. The same expression, the same emotions, the same disappointed tone. But the hidden emotions were deeper than the host's. The system was shocked. He seemed to have discovered something incredible. He secretly looked at the host who was excitedly scrolling through Weibo and finally mustered up his courage. Does the original host like Tang Zheng? Aren't you the system? Do you know the plot? He was the system, so he knew the plot. But if the host didn't trigger some hidden plot, he wouldn't know. Host, how did you find out? I really don't know who wrote you. Your IQ is worrying. Stupid thing, if you didn't have me, you wouldn't even be able to survive. Come to think of it, the one you should be thanking me. System. Xiaoguo's, is he really that useless? Tang Guo seemed to know what he was thinking. She chuckled and said, Other than providing the plot, what else can you do? Like hacking the internet? To give me a gift? Do you think I get a reward? If it wasn't for my photographic memory, my intelligence, my beauty, my ability to work in the kitchen, and my ability to learn survival skills while trying to survive, would you still be able to survive? You say, what do you? Of. System. If that's the case, then he's really useless. Chapter 95. After the system reflected deeply, it felt that it was really useless. So much so that when facing Tang Guo, it didn't even mention the matter of her abusing the male and female lead. It would never admit that it was the host's fault. Host, just tell me, did the original body like Tang Zheng? If that was the case, why did she marry Lin Yiqi? After knowing that Lin Yiqi had Gu Qingqing, why would she fight with Lin Yiqi? In the end, There was such an ending.
Yes.
Tangua's eyes sank. I have liked him since I was very young. The system's spirit was lifted, and it didn't disturb Tangua from continuing. It always felt that the host knew a lot and knew a lot. Even though she saw the same plot, she could always analyze many key points. When the original body was 3 years old, she was hospitalized once. Behind the ward she stayed in, there was an orphanage. Tangua said in a low voice, she saw Tang Zheng, a stubborn and tenacious boy. Tang Zheng was able to be taken to the family Tang. Was it related to the original body? The system almost jumped up. It only glanced at this plot. After all, the original body didn't take the initiative to ask the family Tang couple to adopt a child. The original body stayed in the hospital for a week. Every day she would look at the orphanage from the window. Do you think the family Tang couple didn't see it? As the two big shots of the Tang group, how could they not know who their daughter was looking at? They love their daughter so much. If their daughter liked someone, of course they would bring him back. The truth was that the family Tang couple looked at their sick daughter and smiled happily at a child in the orphanage every day. Coupled with their daughter's quick recovery, they felt that the child was blessed. They also felt that their daughter lacked a companion, so they brought him back. At first, they didn't plan to cultivate him as a son-in-law. Later, seeing that Tang Zheng was promising, plus their daughter liked him, they had this plan. But Tang Zheng mistakenly thought that they had this plan from the beginning. It was no wonder that even though Tang Zheng had been abroad for so many years, he didn't see Tangua at all. In the plot, Tangua listened to Tang Zheng the most. Many times, the family Tang couple couldn't coax her. But as long as Tang Zheng said a word, she would be willing to go through water and tread on fire. The original body was actually as smart as snow. When she felt Tang Zheng's rejection of her, she did not dare to reveal her feelings and chose to silently hide it. Another way was to like Tang Zheng. For example, listening to his words and supporting his ideas, even if it was his decision. If not for the efforts of the original body, Tang Zheng would not have gone abroad to study and start a business so smoothly. After listening to Tangua's analysis, the system murmured, the original owner of this body must have been possessed. Later on, when Tang Zheng plotted against her for liking Lin Yiqi, she remained silent. She was already used to it. Since it was Tang Zheng's wish, then it was her wish. She would try her best to like Lin Yiqi. It should be said that the original Lin Chujio was so immersed in her role that she only came out of it when she heard that the Tang couple had died. She already understood that Tang Zheng did not like her and that she had no family. She had lost her last hope of living, so she chose to kill Gu Qingqing and Lin Yiqi with her blade. She wanted to take them down with her. In the end, she failed and was sent to a mental hospital where she was hacked to death by a mental patient. She did not resist. The system was actually very complicated, because every time his host threw herself into a cannon fodder role, she was not the kind of bad person at the beginning. There were even some people who were not bad from the beginning to the end, but their inevitable fate was very tragic. He understood very well why his host was becoming more and more depressed. Chapter 96. Host, I'm sorry, I seem to have really dragged you down. The system was sincerely apologizing. If it was just a bit smarter, perhaps the host would not have collapsed. It did not know when it would stop traveling through worlds. When it was created, it was to accompany Tangua as cannon fodder. It was as if the person who created it did not give it any specific task. It found that its and its host's future was bleak. It should be said that the best result was to be able to travel through these worlds and never die. Don't be discouraged. If I can get out, I will not forget you for the sake of our past relationship. The system wanted to squeeze out 2 tears to show that it was moved. Unfortunately, it was just a program and did not have a body, nor did it have things like tears. It was so fucking embarrassing. Host, if you feel that I can help you in the future, there is no need to be polite. Tangua was silent for a while. Are you sure? System. It should be possible. Why couldn't it be sure? Maybe it was because its host was too crazy? After eating her fill, Tangua did not leave the room. Even when it was time for dinner, she did not take the initiative to go out. Tang Jing ate alone in the dining room. He glanced at the seat where Tangua usually sat and felt that today's food was hard to swallow. Why isn't the young miss coming down to eat? The young miss said she is not hungry. Tang Zheng frowned and coldly laughed. She even learned to throw a tantrum. Servant. She is the young miss? There is nothing wrong with throwing a tantrum, young master. Go tell her to come down to eat. Tang Zheng put down his bowl and chopsticks, as if waiting for Tanghua to come down to eat. The servant did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly went upstairs to knock on Tanghua's door. Young miss, it is time for dinner. I am not hungry and do not want to eat. You can leave. The servant's face revealed a difficult expression. She did not dare to provoke this little princess. Just as she was about to go downstairs to report the situation, Tang Zheng had already arrived at the door. Come out to eat. Hearing Tang Zheng's voice, Tanghua narrowed her eyes, climbed out of bed, and nimbly opened the door. The moment she opened the door, her unfathomable expression turned into that of an obedient little girl. System. In terms of acting, he is not as good as the host. Brother. The young girl's sweet tone seemed to be able to seep into one's heart. Even Tang Zheng did not realize that his emotions had already been controlled by the young girl in front of him. Who are you angry with behind closed doors? Or are you angry because I exposed you? Tang Zheng was in a bad mood. A mere Lin Yiqi was enough to make her care so much? Although this was what he wanted, of course, he couldn't tell Tanghua about it. You like Lin Yiqi, and if you're worried about Dad and Mom blaming you, I'll plead for you. When the time comes, you just need to worry about getting married to Lin Yiqi. The girl whose eyes were originally clear and bright like stars, upon hearing Tang Zheng's words, became silent. She lowered her head and only made an "oh" sound, not saying anything else. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, felt uncomfortable. Was it because of Lin Yiqi? If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have spent so much effort to bring her to the banquet. When House Lin brought Lin Yiqi over, she'd be interested in him as well. Thinking like this, Tang Zheng was not in a good mood. All right, come down and eat. Feeling that the young girl was still obediently following behind him, Tang Zheng's mood improved a lot. Following this, it was time to eat in silence. Tanghua did not eat more than 2 mouthfuls before going upstairs. The first thing she said after locking the door was, "If I knew that tonight's dishes would be so delicious, I would have eaten less snacks." System. Chapter 97. The next day, before Tang Zheng went to the company, he subconsciously knocked on Tanghua's door. When the servant saw it, she told him that Tanghua went out early in the morning. Thinking that Tanghua couldn't wait to see Lin Yiqi, Tang Zheng's good mood from the morning was gone. Got it. I'll go to the company first. Young master, don't you want to eat breakfast first? The servant chased after him and asked, but all she got was the sound of the car starting. Tang Zheng pursed his lips. His eyes were terrifyingly deep. When he arrived at the company, all the staff members saw Tang Zheng's expression and exchanged glances, indicating that they absolutely couldn't provoke Boss Tang today. Boss Tang was obviously in a bad mood. He didn't know who provoked Boss Tang, but it was really courageous. He didn't know if this person was still alive. And did Tanghua really go to see Lin Yiqi? Tanghua smiled coldly. She wasn't in the mood to see that pig-trotter Lin Yiqi. Tanghua went to the phone repair shop. She took the broken phone from yesterday to fix. System. It doesn't understand this operation. Boss, can you fix it? Tanghua saw that the boss had already taken the phone apart. Although it was wet, there wasn't any sludge inside. Let me try first. The boss was very nervous. It was the first time such a beautiful girl came to ask him to fix a phone early in the morning. Looking at the girl's meaning, she still wanted to wait for him to fix it. It was really stressful. If he didn't fix it, he always felt that the beautiful girl would cry by his side. He couldn't bear it. Therefore, he would do his best to fix the phone by the end of the day. Boss, you have to fix this phone, please? The boss hurriedly nodded. His whole body was covered in cold sweat, especially when he saw the girl give him a thick stack of money. It looked like a lot. Speaking of which, with so much money, he should be able to buy a phone similar to this one, right? But seeing the girl's anxious face, the boss didn't complain and seriously fixed the phone. He didn't even have the thought to refuse. Close to 12 o'clock, Tang Zheng finally couldn't bear it anymore, because since this morning, Tanghua hadn't sent a message or called him. This was something that would have never happened in the past. Could it be that she'd forgotten everything after playing so much with Lin? Finally, Tang Zheng expressionlessly dialed Tanggua's number. Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable. Tang Zheng's face darkened. When the assistant walked in, he really hoped that he would turn around and leave. With a dark face, Tang Zheng once again dialed Tanggua's number, but her phone was still turned off. Tang Zheng sneered twice. The assistant who walked to the door could feel that Boss Tang's office was in the dead of winter. Connect me to Lin Yiqi. And you are? Tang Zheng. Okay, Boss Tang. Please wait a moment. When Lin Yiqi heard the secretary say that Tang Zheng had called, he was really flattered. Why would that person call him? After thinking about it, he finally blamed it on Tanggua. When he picked up the phone, sure enough, Tang Zheng's first sentence was, "You and Xiaogua had a good time?" Lin Yiqi didn't react for a moment, thinking that Tang Zheng was talking about yesterday's incident. He smiled. Xiaogua is a very good girl. Of course I'm happy to be with her. Tang Zheng's heart sank, and he made a mental note for Lin Yiqi, a man with flowery words. Put her on the phone. Chapter 98. What? Lin Yiqi was stunned for a moment before he reacted and asked, Boss Tang, what did you just say? I said, let Xiaogua answer the phone. Tang Zheng pursed his lips. He didn't like to say it a second time. Boss Tang, Xiaogua isn't with me. Lin Yiqi seemed to understand something. Could it be that she came to find me? When did this happen? If that's the case, Boss Tang, you should have informed me earlier so that I could go down and pick up Xiaogua. Tang Zheng frowned. She's not with you? I just asked the secretary. So far, no one has come to find me. Tang Zheng didn't waste any more words and hung up the phone with a bang. Since Tanggua wasn't with Lin Yiqi, there was no need for him to say anything more to this flowery man. It was just that Tanggua wasn't with Lin Yiqi. This was the main point. Tanggua had turned off her phone. This was also the main point. So far, her phone was still turned off. During this period, there was not a single call or message. This was very important. Tang Zheng called the villa again and found out that Tanggua didn't go back. He suddenly stood up from his seat and walked out of the office with his long legs. The staff members who were originally having lunch and fooling around immediately went silent when they saw Tang Zheng come out from inside. Tang Zheng's face was dark, and there was an unconcealable worry in his eyes. In the past, no matter where Tanggua went, she would always inform him in advance. Even after she went out, she would send him a message every half an hour. Within 2 hours, there would definitely be a call. Even at school, Tanggua would contact him several times a day. Even when he was abroad, Tanggua would think of ways to communicate with him every day. It seemed that he was used to this way of getting along. Suddenly, a person was not within his range of perception for half a day. He was actually not used to it and was even worried. He didn't think too much about the reason. The most important thing now was to find Tanggua. Tang Zheng was a very direct person, and the method he used was also very straightforward. Call the police. When the police received the news that the little princess of the Family Tang family was missing, of course, they did not stop looking for her. Family Tang's little princess was missing, and it was the young master of Family Tang who personally reported it to the police. How could this not be taken seriously? Tanggua waited in the mobile phone repair shop for a long time and felt a little sleepy. She yawned and ordered takeout for the shop owner in a friendly manner. After eating, the boss continued to repair his phone. However, this phone was very complicated. He had tried many methods, but he still couldn't restore the phone to its original state. He was about to give up, but the young lady beside him said that she wanted him to continue repairing it. She even said that she would compensate him for the cost of delaying his work today. His mission today was to repair this phone. For the sake of money, the boss did his best to repair it. Although it was not fixed yet, it did not mean that there was no progress. At the very least, he felt that his mobile phone repair skills had improved a lot in half a day. Tanggua leaned against the counter, looking listless. At some point, 2 police officers came to the door of the shop. They looked at Tanggua and compared her to the photo. Finally, they secretly took a photo of Tanggua and sent it back. Young Master Tang, this should be Miss Tang, right? Tang Zheng recognized at a glance that the girl in the photo was Tanggua. He put away his phone and got up. Where is she? The police officer beside him let out a sigh of relief. I'll take young Master Tang there right away. Chapter 99. Tangwa stood up as if she had done something guilty. She obediently stood in front of Tang Zheng and blocked the shop owner behind her. Big brother, Tang Zheng dryly called out. Tang Zheng's already dark face no longer had any expression. When he saw the girl, Tang Zheng inexplicably let out a sigh of relief. But when he saw her guilty look, his anger rose again. You've been here all morning? Why didn't you inform me when you went out in the morning? You didn't call or send me a message? The 3 questions in a row stunned the system. Why is your phone turned off? In the end, Tang Zheng asked again. System, no, it's 4 questions in a row. At the same time, he was much taller than Tangwa, so he naturally saw the shop owner fiddling with his phone. His eyebrows slightly furrowed. It shouldn't be what he thought. Family Tang's little princess woke up early in the morning just to repair her phone? Tangwa pulled Tang Zheng's sleeve and looked at him pitifully. Tang Zheng glanced at her. Come back with me. He grabbed the girl's hand and ignored the shop owner. He should lock her up in the villa so that she would know what it meant to be obedient. Big brother, can we go back after a while? Tang Zheng's eyebrows furrowed. He naturally noticed Tang was evasive gaze. If he still couldn't guess it, then he really was a fool. Family Tang's little princess really came to the shop early in the morning to repair her phone. In the villa, Tang Zheng sat upright on the sofa, playing with the pink phone that the shop owner couldn't repair for an entire morning. Standing in front of him was the uneasy Family Tang's little princess. Looking at her scared appearance, Tang Zheng was angered to the point of laughing. Tell me, why did you sneak out early in the morning to repair your phone? Tang Zheng couldn't understand. My phone is broken, so I asked someone to send a new one over. For a moment, Tang Zheng's mind filled with all kinds of reasons. Anyway, every one of them made him feel bad. The only thing that made him feel better was the fact that Tangwa wasn't out for Linichi. He planned for Tangwa to fall in love with Linichi, but there was no need for her to sacrifice her status as the family's little princess for Linichi. Brother, do you really want to know? The young girl seemed to have made a decision as she looked at Tang Zheng seriously. Tang Zheng did not suspect anything and nodded his head. Naturally, he was really curious as to why the little princess of the family Tang group would go through so much trouble to fix a broken phone. Although this was a limited edition mobile phone that couldn't even be bought in China, this wasn't a reason to repair it. The young girl looked at Tang Zheng and finally lowered her head. Her voice was very low, but one could hear the longing and attachment in it. This is the birthday present that Big Brother gave me this year. His voice was filled with an inexplicable sense of longing, making one's heart ache. After Tang Zheng heard this, he was also stunned. He thought of many reasons, but he never thought that it would be this. If Big Brother doesn't like it, then I won't do such a thing again. Before Tang Zheng could react, he heard Tangwa say that she would go back to her room first. When he looked up, he saw the back of the young girl hurriedly running upstairs. He held the pink phone in his hand and didn't speak for a long time. A trace of struggle flashed in his eyes, but in the end, he calmed down. After a long time, he took out his phone and was about to make a call when a servant came in with a box. Young master, this was sent by President Lin. She said it was for Mississippi. Chapter 100. Tang Zheng opened it. It was an exquisite phone, and it was the latest model this year. It wasn't any worse than the one in his hand. Tang Zheng's heart inexplicably burned with anger. Send it back. Then, he dialed the previous number. Bring me the best phone this year. For girls. He added in the end. A minute later, the servant came over again. Young master, President Lin is calling. Tang Zheng frowned slightly. Displeasure flashed in his eyes, but he still walked over and picked up the phone. President Lin? His voice was calm and cold without any warmth. On the other end of the phone, Lin Ichi paused. He obviously didn't expect Tang Zheng to pick up the phone. He reacted in an instant. So Boss Tang is also at home. It was hard to say what he had prepared before. Lin Ichi couldn't help but recall the girl with the pure smile yesterday. The little princess of family Tang was indeed well protected. Where's Xiaogua? Tang Zheng's brows never relaxed. They had only known each other for a few days, but he called her so intimately. Upstairs. Lin Ichi paused. Can you let Xiaoguo answer the phone? Displeasure flashed in Tang Zheng's eyes. He said without thinking, she's taking an afternoon nap. Servant. The miss didn't seem to have the habit of sleeping after eating. Lin Ichi. Oh, that's a pity. Lin Ichi asked tentatively. Xiaoguo's phone fell into the water yesterday. It should be broken. I asked someone to send it over today, but it was returned. I just wanted to ask if Xiaoguo didn't like it. Boss Tang is Xiaoguo's brother. He should know her preferences. What kind of phone does she like? Tang Zheng lowered his eyes. The family has already prepared one for her. The little princess of family Tang doesn't lack a phone. You don't have to worry about it. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Lin Ichi listened to the beeping sound on the phone and was a little confused. He always felt that Tang Zheng was hostile to him, but from his previous attitude, Tang Zheng allowed Tang Wu to contact him. Young master, the phone is here. Tang Zheng checked his phone and felt that it was not bad. So he said, send it to Xiaoguo. Just as the servant was about to take it, he withdrew his hand. Forget it. I'll go. The little princess was spoiled and seemed to be angry with him today. Tang Zheng did not know when he had stopped rejecting contact with Tang Wu. The system kindly reminded him. Tang Wu quickly hid all the snacks, wiped the corner of her mouth with a tissue, and drank a mouthful of water. She also sprayed perfume around to prevent the smell of snacks from spreading. System. He doesn't know this woman with schizophrenia. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Tang Wu raised her eyebrows, and the corners of her mouth curved into a wide smile. Her voice was soft and sweet, the kind that could seep into people's hearts. Who is it? Tang Zheng paused, gripping the small and exquisite phone in his hand. The corner of his lips hooked up. Me? Brother? Her voice carried a bit of surprise, but in an instant, Tang Wu's voice changed, revealing a bit of sadness. Brother, is there something you need? If it's about what happened this morning, I promise it won't happen again. System. As expected, the host is not only crazy, but also schizophrenic. Open the door first. Tang Zheng could hear that Tang Wu was not too happy. He found it a bit funny. The little princess of family Tang could do something like fixing a phone, yet she still had the face to be angry. Chapter 101. He didn't blame her. He was just a bit angry. She didn't contact him the whole morning just to fix her phone. Tang Zheng heard some noises in the room before the door finally opened. Brother. Seeing the girl carefully raise her head, Tang Zheng's heart softened. She was a spoiled little princess after all. He just didn't like his fate being manipulated by others. Your phone is broken, so get someone to bring a new one. Can't you understand such a simple thing? Tang Wu lowered her head and didn't say anything. Take it. Tang Wu raised her head and was a bit surprised. She took the exquisite phone from Tang Zheng and a smile appeared on her face. Her eyes seemed to light up. Brother, is this for me? Tang Zheng seemed to understand something from the girl's eyes. His warm smile disappeared and his face became a bit more distant. And his voice was cold. As the miss of the family Tang, you went to a repair shop to fix your phone. If word got out, how embarrassing would that be? Tang Wu pursed her lips and didn't say anything. The joy on her face also disappeared because of Tang Zheng's words. Lin Ichi just called and asked what kind of phone you like. Tang Zheng didn't seem to notice the girl's expression. If you go out with him from now on, I won't stop you. After saying this, Tang Zheng felt that there was nothing more to say, so he turned around and went downstairs. A cold smile appeared on his face. He didn't like being manipulated by others. He didn't like having his emotions affected by others. He didn't like this kind of weakness. He closed his eyes and couldn't help but think back to when he first came to the family Tang. That 3 or 4-year-old girl stuck to him all day long. Tang Wu played with her phone and sneered. This kind of person hasn't learned his lesson. The system hid in the corner and trembled. System. He's a bit scared. What should I do? Stupid thing. Don't you think these people are all lowly bones? The system didn't dare to say anything. When I treat him well, he doesn't obediently enjoy it. Instead, he wants to give me a slap to feel good. Are you a masochist? The system really didn't dare to say anything. He couldn't help but recall that the host met a big villain in a certain world. Suddenly, he felt that the two of them were in the same boat. Perhaps it was because he had been wandering around the world for too long, and the host wanted to find a soulmate. The host understood her ending and only wanted to live a peaceful life during that period of time. She would treat a person well without holding back. If she was really good, she would praise that person to the heavens. However, the truth was often unsatisfactory. The host spent all of her efforts and treated a person well for 5 years. But in the end, it was nothing compared to a single sentence from the White Lotus female lead in the villain's heart. The system suddenly felt a little sad. It felt like it had been completely instigated. Tangwa chuckled. "Do you think I'm afraid of betrayal?" The system was silent. The host, whose heart had already been pierced through like a die, no longer needed sincerity. She no longer had a heart. The next day, Linichi asked Tangwa out, and Tangwa agreed. For the next couple of days, Linichi would create some romantic scenes, and Tangwa would still accept them. Linichi thought that everything he did recently had the heart of the little princess of the family firmly locked in his hands. It wasn't that he was so confident, but the focused gaze of Tangwa. Other than liking him, what other reason could there be to explain it? Linichi also let out a sigh of relief. Recently, he had asked Tangwa out, and he hadn't seen Qingqing for a few days. Chapter 102. Big Boss, you shouldn't be here. Gu Qingqing wasn't happy after not seeing Linichi for a few days. But he was a big boss, and she was just a small employee in his company. It was an accident that they even knew each other. See, how long had it been since they last met? He had already forgotten about her. Gu Qingqing picked up her bag and was about to leave when Linichi grabbed her hand and pulled her to the corner of the corridor. Gu Qingqing's face immediately turned red when she sensed his masculine scent. She had to admit that the big boss she met was tall and handsome. He was the Prince Charming in every woman's heart. He was just a little bad-tempered. "Did you miss me?" Gu Qingqing was about to say "miss you big head" when Linichi buried his head in her neck. She could feel his hot breath clearly. Her heart was beating so fast that it couldn't be stopped. It felt like it was going to jump out at any moment. "Linichi, what are you doing? Move away. I'm going home to cook for my dad." Gu Qingqing pushed Linichi. "My dad will starve if you don't go home now." Linichi didn't let go. Instead, he hugged Gu Qingqing tighter. "I'll find a nurse for your dad. Qingqing, okay?" Gu Qingqing didn't say anything. She lowered her head. "Linichi, what do you mean? We're not related in any way. Why are you helping me? You're the big boss of Ling Group, and I'm just a small employee. Don't tell me that you care about your employees." What a silly girl. Linichi liked honest and clean girls. He couldn't find any tricks here, and he could talk to her without thinking about the hidden meaning in her words. "Then it's settled. I'll get someone to take care of your dad." "No," Gu Qingqing rejected immediately. "I can't accept it. I don't like to owe people." Linichi chuckled and touched Gu Qingqing's cheek. "I need a personal assistant. You can come. Hiring a nurse for your dad will be your special reward, but you have to do it well." Gu Qingqing fell into deep thought. She didn't think about it for long. She liked Linichi, and her dad needed a nurse too. Now that he even thought of an excuse for her, she naturally wouldn't reject. "All right, Qingqing, from today onwards, you are my personal assistant. Now, you have to accompany me for a meal." Gu Qingqing was still in a daze when Linichi pulled her away. Not long after the two of them left, Tangwa came out from the side with a smile. She didn't expect that she would be able to get such a big surprise just by strolling around. She put away her phone and yawned. The system asked weakly. Tangwa sneered and said, "It's not like I'll starve to death. He's not your father. Why are you so anxious?" System. He's not in a hurry. He's just shocked by the female lead's actions. Big brother. When it was almost dark, Tangwa called Tangzheng. "Can you come pick me up?" "The driver didn't follow you?" "Yeah, I wanted to come out alone to look for Brother Lin. So I didn't bring him along," Tangwa said with some disappointment. "But when I came to Lin's group, I didn't find him." Just as Tangzheng was thinking, Tangwa added fuel to the fire. "If Big Brother isn't free, then forget it. I'll call a taxi." Without giving Tangzheng a chance to refute, Tangwa hung up. Chapter 103. Tang Zheng didn't think that Tanghua would just hang up the phone, but when he remembered that she went to the Lin group to look for Lin Yiqi, he felt that he shouldn't worry about it. Things were going according to his plan, and everything was fine. Young master, Miss isn't back yet. The maid had already prepared the meal. Do you want to eat first? Tang Zheng put away his phone and said, she'll be back in a bit. We'll eat when she's back. Okay, young master. In the large living room, Tang Zheng was the only one left. Usually, when he came back, he would definitely see Tanghua. Ever since that girl came into contact with Lin Yiqi, he basically didn't see her after coming back from the company. If she wasn't on a date with Lin Yiqi, then she was tired and went to rest. In the past few days, they basically didn't see each other. Tang Zheng felt a bit bored and turned on the TV to watch the news. Our station's latest news. Yesterday, a girl took a taxi home late at night and was brutally raped and killed by the driver. Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched as he turned off the TV. Pursing his lips, he picked up the newspaper and read it. He didn't know why, but he saw the missing person notice in the corner and a picture of a very young and beautiful woman. It said that after the woman got off work the day before yesterday, there was no contact. Even though the police had been called, there was still no news of her. He flipped the newspaper over. The words, West City Girl's missing case solved, fell into his eyes. He skimmed over the picture that was censored. Even though it was censored, he could still see the surrounding environment. It was a small, dilapidated house. He glanced at the words and saw that it was a month ago. A 17-year-old girl went missing on her way home from school. The case was solved yesterday. It was said that she didn't catch the bus, so she took a taxi. She didn't expect the driver to see the girl's beauty and have evil intentions. Then he kidnapped the girl to a shabby rental house in the suburbs and tortured her for an entire month. In the end, after a thorough investigation by the police, they finally found the girl in the rental house. But when they found her, she only had one breath left. Tang Zheng squeezed the newspaper into a ball and controlled the flames in his eyes. Who bought this newspaper? The maid looked at each other, not understanding why their young master would get angry when he read the newspaper. Young master, didn't you order this? The maid said cautiously, you said before that Miss doesn't go out often, so you asked her to read more books and newspapers to broaden her knowledge so that she won't be cheated by bad people outside. Therefore, he specially subscribed to the daily newspaper. Tang Zheng remembered and sat back down. After taking a deep breath, he took out his phone and dialed Tanghua's number. His heart was pounding, and an unknown nervousness and panic was spreading. The phone rang a few times. Just as he was about to suffocate from the pressure, the phone was finally picked up. Brother, when will you arrive? There should be another 15 minutes. Brother, what's wrong? Nothing. Tang Zheng's eyes sank. Where are we now? Tang Zheng heard Tanghua ask the driver, Driver, do you know where this is? It seems that your family is very concerned about you. The driver's voice sounded like a middle-aged man. He smiled and said, Isn't this the main street? Aren't you in a hurry to go home? I took a shortcut and got home quickly. Brother, I'll be there soon. Tang Zheng heard the middle-aged man's voice and his words and had a bad premonition. Don't hang up. I'll come pick you up. Chapter 104. Don't make a sound. Pretend to hang up the phone and put it in your bag. No matter what happens, you must stay calm and wait for me. Tang Zheng had an indescribable panic in his heart. The driver's voice was too strange. The sentence, I'll be home soon, was very suspicious. Under normal circumstances, the driver would not say this sentence. I'll be home soon. Who's home? Tang Zheng's eyes darkened as he quickly ran out of the villa. While locating Tanghua's position, he saw the little red on the GPS constantly running out of the city. At the same time he was worried, he was also glad that he called in time. Tanghua did not hang up the phone. She put the phone in her bag and looked outside with her chin propped up. The scenery outside the car window changed from the bustling neon lights to the faint dots of stars. She still had a simple smile on her face. Driver, this doesn't seem to be the way home. Did you go the wrong way? The driver lit a cigarette and said, Little girl, you don't come out often, right? This is the way home. If you think it's hard to wait, you can sleep first. When we arrive, I'll wake you up. The driver secretly observed the girl in the back. He was lucky today to be able to pull in such a beautiful customer. Looking at her clothes, she should be a rich family's young miss. She was really naive and pure. He liked this kind of clean girl the most. She looked like she was above the common populace. He liked to see their helpless eyes, as well as their miserable screams. Their white faces were covered with tears. They were really delicate and pitiful. Thinking of the scene that would appear later, he was very excited. So excited that his face turned red. The car gradually sped up, and the scenery outside the car window quickly retreated. Gradually, the scattered lights disappeared. The girl sitting in the back did not seem to be so calm. Her face showed some apprehension and nervousness. Her pair of uneasy eyes were like a frightened deer. The driver's heart was beating fast. If it were not for the frequent accidents that happened to the organization members, he really wanted to stop in a place where there was no one. What a clever girl, what a delicate face. It was like a flower that had just bloomed. He could not help but destroy it. Driver, drive back. I want to go home. This is not the way home. The driver's smile became somewhat sinister. He did not slow down, but instead sped up. We'll be home soon. Don't worry. Stop the car. I want to get off. Seeing that the girl was about to open the door, the driver took out a sharp knife and gestured behind him. You better behave, or I'll kill you. Be obedient, or I won't let you live to see tomorrow. His ferocious side caused the young girl to tremble in fear as she sat at the back. It was as if she had forgotten everything and could only look at him in horror. The driver was very satisfied. The young girl in the back seemed to rarely go out. She didn't even have the basic survival instinct, which saved him a lot of trouble. Host, did you study at the University of Drama Arts before? The results should be good, right? Look, her little face was pale, with drops of tears hanging down. She hugged her arms and shivered in the corner. She was really delicate and pitiful, like a little white flower, making people pity her. Host, I think there's a deeper meaning behind your actions. Do you still remember a very special criminal organization mentioned in the plot? Tangwa appeared pitiful on the surface, but she was communicating with the system in her mind. This driver is a member of that organization. How do you know? The original owner shouldn't have seen him in her memories, right? Chapter 105. Are you sure? The outwardly trembling Tangwa's heart was incomparably calm. Indeed, with your IQ, you wouldn't be able to find out. After all, you are really stupid. System, Tangzheng's car speed had already reached its limit, and he could clearly hear the movements on Tangwa's side. Should he be happy that his premonition was accurate, or should he be angry that his premonition was so accurate? Thinking back to the voice that came from the phone, he had already turned off the phone to prevent any sound from alerting the other side. His mind was unable to get rid of the young girl's helpless voice. There was no longer the usual soft and sweet voice, only helplessness and panic remained. If he did not make this call today, what would she be facing next? Just thinking about it made his heart unbearably flustered, and he even increased the speed of the car. Tang Zheng's actions had already alerted the traffic police, but at this time, he did not want to deal with these matters, nor would he call the police. If the people behind wanted to chase, then let them. If the police were alerted, then Xiaoguo would definitely be in danger. Tang Zheng pursed his lips and put on his earphones to listen to the movements on the other side of the phone. It was quiet, so quiet that it made people feel scared. For the first time, Tang Zheng's heart was filled with regret. He should not have let her come back alone. He should have gone to pick her up. She was only 18 years old, and from birth to university, she was carefully protected by her family and rarely went out. Even if she did go out, there would always be a driver by her side. Tang Jing forcefully closed his eyes, and in a flash, he opened them and tightly gripped the steering wheel. The neon lights outside the car window were unable to attract his attention. His attention was only on the sounds on the other side of the phone and the little red that was getting farther and farther away. It was his obsession that allowed her to come into contact with Lin Ichi. Even if he did not like being manipulated, he should not have put her in danger. She had never done anything to hurt him. Guilt surged like a tide, but he quickly suppressed it. The most important thing now was to bring her back. Tang Zhang calmed down and began to plan for any problems that might arise. Of course, he would not simply go by himself and would not arrange for the people behind to clean up. If something unexpected happened, then it would not be good. Tangwa did not know the change in Tang Zhang's heart, and even if she knew, she would only laugh. You really are a wretch. This is a large criminal organization, and their targets are young girls taking a taxi late at night. Although it looks like an accident, it is actually a crime committed by these members. Tangwa and her stupid systems analysis, they have their own jobs. Among the glamorous white-collar workers, some are senior technicians, some are idle people, and some are inconspicuous employees. Shopkeeper, shop owner. There s Tangwas, young. Tangwas, young girls, they, young girls. To look to see these girls they. To see, to look. To find out to see, look. They. To read. Host, if that's the case, they're a bunch of perverts. How are you so sure? The system was a little dumbfounded. This is what I deduced from Tangwa's memories. She did not have a mental illness, but after she went to the mental hospital, she really did. Tangwa coldly laughed in her heart. When I saw this driver, these memories became clear. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.